Chapter 438. Leave my name in the history books? Really? Oscar's eyes lit up. Of course. Lin Feng nodded. The thing I want you to research is called a telephone. Think about it. Soul power undulations can be converted into words, and then spread within a certain range through a device. If this device is spread across the entire continent, this news will spread across the entire continent. What? Feng Go, are you saying that the news can be spread across the continent in real time? Oscar's mind was sharp, and he immediately understood the essence. Is this true? News spread across the entire continent in real time? Ma Hongjun was also astonished. Grandmaster was so astonished that he couldn't even speak. At this moment, his mouth was wide open and his eyes were dazed. When Lin Feng had described it earlier, he had only described it part by part. They hadn't thought of it as a whole. However, Lin Feng had clearly pointed out the word telephone now, and even demonstrated its effects. It would be strange if the three of them weren't astonished. After all, the time needed to spread news across the continent was calculated in months. If they really had the ability to spread news in real time, the entire continent's situation would change drastically. When that happened, it wouldn't just be a matter of soul tools. It would be an important technology that would affect the continent's situation. As long as news of this spread, the two empires and the Martial Soul Hall would come to fight for it. Of course it's true. However, this is only my conjecture. As for the actual situation, I still need you to experiment. Lin Feng didn't dare to guarantee anything. After all, he only had a theory now. He still needed to rely on Grandmaster and the others to put it into practice. As he looked at the three of them, who were still in shock, Lin Feng said, "The three of you have the deepest understanding of soul tool technology in the entire continent. Grandmaster, I think you can start a course on soul tools in the academy and start teaching students. When the Soul Master Alliance is established in the future, we will also focus on nurturing talents in this area. We will strive to let more people learn how to create soul tools and then change the situation of the entire continent. When that happens, you can set up a research lab. These students can be your assistants, and they can develop soul tool technology even faster." Soul tool research was an extremely powerful technology. Of course, the more people who researched it, the better. Only then would this industry be filled with vitality, and they would have the courage to innovate and develop better soul tools. Lin Feng felt that after a few years of development, the technology of this soul tool would become stronger and stronger. It might even reach the technological level of his previous life. Just the thought of being able to play with a computer or game console powered by soul power in the future filled Lin Feng with anticipation. Of course, that scene was still very far away. Right now, the most important thing was to establish the Soul Master Alliance. Everything else could be dealt with later. Feng Go is right. We should impart soul tool technology to others. If the three of us do research, the efficiency will be too low. Oscar agreed with Lin Feng's words. In fact, before this, he and the master had discussed whether or not to recruit people. Oscar agreed with this. He hoped that more people would join their team. As for the master's words, although he did not object, his thinking was more conservative. He had never thought about teaching before. In addition, he was busy with flying-type soul tools. This was why he did not bring this up after discussing it for a while. However, now that Lin Feng had mentioned it, the master felt that this method was feasible. "All right, I will discuss it with Flanders." The master nodded. Just like that, Lin Feng discussed the promotion of flying-type soul tools with the master and the others in detail. He also discussed the idea of making a phone call. After that, Lin Feng did not stay in Heaven Do City for long. After spending 2 days, he had achieved his goal. Now, what Lin Feng needed to do was to implement the plan. He had to travel around the continent a few times. He had to inform the hidden experts to be ready. 3 months later, they would gather in Heaven Do City. His first stop was the Clear Sky sect. After the first time he came with Tang San, Lin Feng had come 9 times as Thanos. Today it was the 10th time. Lin Feng did not go to the village. Instead, he went straight to the Clear Sky sect's headquarters, which was the mountain. Lin Feng had not seen the 2 disciples guarding the gate. When they saw Lin Feng descending from the sky, they were astonished. At the same time, they were very alert. They were prepared to sound the alarm. However, Lin Feng lifted his hand and revealed the Marvel family's token. Seeing this, the 2 disciples immediately became respectful. They hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Deacon Lin." When Lin Feng left the Clear Sky sect for the 9th time, he told Tang Xiao that the next person to come would be Lin Feng. He would come to discuss business. Tang Xiao had instructed the disciples to do so. Hence, when Lin Feng revealed the token, they immediately recalled his identity. "Deacon Lin, please follow me." There was no need for a report. One of the disciples respectfully led Lin Feng into the sect. Soon, Lin Feng arrived at the reception hall. Tang Xiao then walked in with a few elders. "Deacon Lin Feng, long time no see." Tang Xiao, who was the leader, cupped his hands and greeted him. Behind him, the 5 elders also bowed slightly and said, "Deacon Lin Feng, long time no see." In the past, the elders did not like Lin Feng. After all, Lin Feng had slapped the Clear Sky sect in the face. It was a loud slap. However, as time passed, Thanos had beaten the Clear Sky sect into submission. Now, when they faced Lin Feng, they were not angry at all. After all, the Dolua continent still paid attention to strength. They were completely defeated by Thanos. Of course, they also admired the people of the Marvel family. Most importantly, when Lin Feng came, Thanos was hiding in the dark. Now, Lin Feng came alone. However, they did not know if Thanos was still hiding in the dark. Because of this, they did not dare to be presumptuous. Sect leader Tang, elders, long time no see. Lin Feng did not act arrogantly. He also cupped his hands and greeted them. After all, he was a deacon of the Marvel family. There was still some etiquette between the 2 great powers. Soon, the 2 sides sat facing each other. Lin Feng did not waste any time and went straight to the point. "Today, I'm here to discuss the Soul Master Alliance with the Clear Sky sect, or to put it another way, I'm here to inform you." When they heard this, their expressions changed. However, they did not refute him immediately. Instead, they continued to listen. Lin Feng continued, "The Soul Master Alliance will be established in Heaven-Do City's Shrek Academy in 3 months. At the same time, the first meeting will be held. Your Clear Sky sect's sect leader Tang can attend it." "There's no problem." Tang Xiao nodded. "However, can Deacon Lin tell us more about the Soul Master Alliance's situation, as well as the Clear Sky sect's situation after joining it?" Previously, whenever Thanos came to fight with them, Tang Xiao would ask about the Soul Master Alliance. At the same time, he would ask about Tang San, Tang Hao, and the others. However, Thanos was a man of few words. Tang Xiao usually received very little information. Currently, he only knew that there were benefits to joining the Soul Master Alliance. Furthermore, it was a huge benefit. However, what were the benefits? What were their obligations? Which powers would join the Soul Master Alliance? Tang Xiao did not know any of these questions. Hence, he was still a little nervous. "No problem." Lin Feng smiled and said, "The Soul Master Alliance's structure is mainly divided into the Alliance Leader, Committee, Elders, and Deacons." They, after spending a minute, Lin Feng explained the structure of the Soul Master Alliance and what they needed to do in the future. This gave Tang Xiao and the others a clear understanding of the Soul Master Alliance. However, there were still some questions that were very vague. Tang Xiao continued asking, "Deacon Lin Feng, may I know how many powers will join the Soul Master Alliance? Also, who will be the Alliance Leader?" Who was the Alliance Leader? This was something that every power would ask. After all, the Alliance Leader would be their superior in the future. It was normal for them to be curious. Lin Feng said, "You will naturally know how many powers the Soul Master Alliance has in 3 months. As for the Alliance leader, the first meeting will be held. We will decide during the meeting." Lin Feng did not directly say that it was Tang San. That would be meaningless. He would decide when the time came. "I see." Tang Xiao nodded and said, "Since this is the case, I will go to the Shrek Academy in 3 months. If Lin Feng had asked him to bring the elders along, Tang Xiao would definitely not have gone. After all, it was too dangerous. If all the titled Dolo left, the Martial Soul Hall would launch a sneak attack, and the Clear Sky sect would be destroyed. But now, as long as he went alone, the 5 elders would be there to protect him. His safety would be guaranteed. "Sect Leader Tang, I will pass on your message. We will meet again." Lin Feng did not waste any more words. After he finished speaking, he left. He had to inform the entire continent in 3 months. This was a little troublesome. Hence, Lin Feng did not waste any more words. After Lin Feng left, Tang Xiao and the others held another meeting in the Clear Sky sect to discuss the Soul Master Alliance. Of course, the content of the discussion was not about rejecting the Soul Master Alliance. Instead, it was about the Clear Sky sect's preparations to come out into the world. Joining the Soul Master Alliance meant that they were going to come out into the world. After they came out into the world, they had to plan where to relocate their sect, as well as the arrangements for their disciples and their affiliated sections. Hence, they had to prepare well for the next 3 months. They were going to be very busy. After Lin Feng left the Clear Sky sect, he did not stop at all. He went straight to his next target. What he had to do in these 3 months was to completely subdue all the hidden powerful individuals and organizations. After that, he would make them send people to the Shrek Academy in Heaven Do City for a meeting. If everything went smoothly, he should be able to complete this in a week. However, Lin Feng could meet them. Things would not go so smoothly. There were too many unforeseen events that he had to deal with. For example, he had to relocate his sect, hide powerful individuals, and refuse to submit to the Soul Master Alliance. Lin Feng had encountered all of these in the past, and it had always taken him a lot of time to deal with them. As such, it was quite challenging for Lin Feng to complete everything in 3 months. Just as Lin Feng was traveling all over the continent, Ning Fengji was also quickly notifying all of the major organizations about the meeting at the Shrek Academy in 3 months. However, due to the speed at which news was transmitted and the time required for the meeting, it would take at least 2 months for all of the organizations to be notified. Furthermore, this was under the assumption that they had prior experience, which was why they were able to compress it into 2 months. The last time they had established the alliance, it had taken much longer than this. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan was the first organization that Ning Fengji contacted. On that day, Ning Fengji spoke with the clan leader of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, Yu Yuenzhen, for half a day. After the pros and cons were discussed, Yu Yuenzhen immediately expressed his agreement. At the same time, he was very interested in the alliance. The next day, Yu Yuenzhen held a meeting with the higher-ups of the clan to inform them of the alliance. As a matter of fact, Ning Fengji had said that the information was top secret and that it would be better to keep it a secret until 3 months later. However, Yu Yuenzhen thought that the higher-ups of the clan wouldn't leak the information, so he told them everything. It wouldn't have been so bad if Yu Yuenzhen hadn't known much, but he was Doluo, so Ning Fengji basically told him everything. After the family meeting, all the higher-ups of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan were informed. Yu Luomian was one of the members of the clan. He was Yu Yuenzhen's younger brother and the second in command of the clan. Yu Luomian was of noble status, but he had been stuck at the 79th rank for many years, unable to reach the Soul Doluo level. That made him anxious. Not long ago, the Martial Spirit Palace tried to infiltrate Ning Fengji's alliance and asked Yu Luomian for help. The Martial Spirit Palace promised to help Yu Luomian reach the Soul Doluo level, But the price was that he had to provide the Martial Spirit Palace with information about Ningfengji. Yu Luomian didn't want to do that at first, but the Martial Spirit Palace asked him many times, so he agreed in the end. However, he didn't expect that Ningfengji would be forced to dissolve the Martial Spirit Alliance soon after he agreed, and the agreement between Yu Luomian and the Martial Spirit Palace was immediately nullified. Yu Luomian was quite upset about that. His long-term anxiety had caused some psychological problems. After the alliance was dissolved, he even felt that Ningfengji was blocking his path, so he hated the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. When he learned that the Soul Master Alliance was going to be established, the first thing he thought of was to tell the Martial Spirit Palace. However, this was an important matter, so Yu Luomian couldn't let someone else pass the message. He had to go to the Martial Spirit City in person. The Martial Spirit City was quite far away from his clan. It would take him half a month to make a round trip, even if he walked fast. Therefore, he had to find an opportunity to pass the message. Otherwise, it would be too suspicious if he suddenly went out for half a month. Just like that, Yu Luomian waited for about a month and a half before he finally found an excuse to leave the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. After that, he immediately rushed to Martial Spirit City, wanting to directly report this matter to Pope Bibi Dong. Chapter 439. Martial Spirit City. Because of the Marvel family's rampage in the past 3 years, the security was much stricter than before. However, the strictest time was more than 2 years ago. Now, after a long time, it has become lax. It didn't take much effort for Yu Luomian to enter the city and then directly found the Martial Spirit Palace, saying that he had something important to report. The identity of the second head of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon family still has some weight in the Martial Spirit City. Yu Luomian was personally summoned by Bibi Dong. Half an hour later, in the hall of the Pope Palace, Yu Luomian knelt down on one knee. He bowed respectfully to Bibi Dong and said, "Yu Luomian of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon family greets Your Majesty the Pope. Get up." Bibi Dong waved his hand. Then he immediately asked, "Just now, you said that you have something important to report. It's about the Martial Spirit Alliance and the Marvel family. Now say it, as long as it's useful. The Martial Spirit Palace will not treat you badly." At present, Bibi Dong was most worried about the Marvel family. Just now, it was also thanks to Yu Luomian's intelligence that he said that the report was about the Marvel family, otherwise, Bibi Dong would not have summoned him. "Reporting to Your Majesty the Pope, a month and a half ago, the sect master of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, Ningfengji, came to our family, and then, after spending a few minutes, Yu Luomian not only talked about the objective situation, but also showed off his own analysis subjectively, which could be regarded as showing his self-worth. After all, he had decided to rely on the Martial Spirit Palace and showed his self-worth. He would get more benefit. Are you sure this is true?" Bibi Dong asked with a solemn face. "It's absolutely true," Yu Luomian said with certainty. Hearing this, Bibi Dong waved his hand. "Okay, you can leave." "Yes." Yu Luomian did not dare to say anything more and left quickly. Of course, his benefit was not to directly find Bibi Dong, there would be a cardinal to receive him. At this time, in the hall of the Pope Palace, Bibi Dong frowned. If what Yu Luomian said was true, then their Martial Spirit Palace would face a major crisis. Because in Bibi Dong's heart, her only enemy was the Marvel family, to be precise, the Patriarch Thanos. From these years of games, Bibi Dong found out that this was a very smart enemy, even terrifying. In the past 3 years, the Martial Spirit Palace had thought of encircling the Marvel family. They tried, but no matter how they planned, they were always one step behind in the end. They didn't even have the chance to meet them face to face. In this case, Bibi Dong thought highly of Thanos, the head of Martial Spirit Palace. He even imagined that Thanos was the only enemy of Martial Spirit Palace. And now, she had received news that the Marvel family was going to conspire with Ning Fengji to re-establish the Soul Master Alliance. She would never allow that to happen. Bibi Dong knew how terrifying this kind of alliance was. It might not be obvious in a short period of time, but in a long time, it was an alliance that could change the situation of the entire continent. Therefore, she attached great importance to this news. After pondering for a while, Bibi Dong disappeared. She found Ghost Doloa and Chrysanthemum Doloa and gave them a very important mission, which was to find out the truth about this alliance and Ning Fengji. Yu Luo Mian's report was only one-sided at the moment. Bibi Dong couldn't believe it directly. She still needed to find out more. And according to the current news, Ning Fengji, Thanos, and the others would officially establish an alliance in 1.5 months. Such a long time was enough for Yu Guan and Gu Mei to find out. Of course, Bibi Dong wouldn't just wait. She began to call back the powerhouses of Martial Spirit Palace from all over the continent. Bibi Dong thought about it. As long as she confirmed the authenticity of this matter, she would immediately send troops to Heaven Do City. The establishment of the Martial Spirit Alliance was actually a good thing for Martial Spirit Palace, because the enemies of Martial Spirit Palace would gather at this moment. If Bibi Dong grasped the opportunity well, she would be able to catch Ning Fengji, Thanos, and the others in one fell swoop. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After all, the enemy was in the open and they were in the dark. They were also gathered together. With a sneak attack, the chances of success were very high. If they missed this opportunity, it would be difficult for Martial Spirit Palace to eliminate them when they were separated. And as long as they succeeded, Martial Spirit Palace would have no more obstacles in the future. It would only be a matter of time before they unified the continent. As she thought about this, Bibi Dong quickly planned a beautiful sneak attack in her heart. In her mind, all the high-ranking Soul Masters would be present on the day the alliance was established. According to the information she had gathered, there were 2 titled Doloa from the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, 1 from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, 2 from the Marvel clan, and 2 from the Imperial Palace. Other than that, there might only be 1 titled Doloa from the Clear Sky sect. Or maybe Tang Hao would come. In any case, there would be at most 2 titled Doloa. In total, there were 9 titled Doloa. As for Ning Fengji, he was very strong. He could greatly increase the strength of titled Doloa. He could even fight 2 titled Doloa by himself. However, he was only rank 79. His soul power was limited. It was already very impressive that he could support 2 titled Doloa at once. If he could support 9 titled Doloa at the same time, he would probably have to stop in a few minutes because his soul power would be depleted. Therefore, in total, the titled Doloa of the Alliance would be at most 11 titled Doloa. As for Soul Doloa, there would be at least 20 titled Doloa. This kind of strength was still very strong. Bibi Dong would be under a lot of pressure if she wanted to take them all down in one go. However, this kind of opportunity was too rare. Bibi Dong decided that if this news was true, she would bring all the higher-ups of Martial Spirit Palace to attack with all her might. Furthermore, she might choose to reveal her own trump card in advance. It didn't matter even if she had to pay a price. After all, the benefits would be too great. This price was nothing. Furthermore, the location of this battle was within Shrek Academy. Their alliance's Soul Masters would definitely have their hands tied during the battle, but they were different. When they put on their masks, they would no longer be Soul Masters of Martial Spirit Palace. They would be evil Soul Masters. If they attacked, they would be able to do whatever they wanted. This was the general plan. What Bibi Dong had to do now was to perfect it. She still needed to think about some details. Behind the Elder Hall of Martial Spirit City was a residential area. However, those who lived there were usually important figures of Martial Spirit Palace. Of course, Hulaina lived there too. She was in seclusion in one of the rooms. It had been almost a year and a half since Hulaina left Massacre City. During this time, Hulaina had accumulated a lot of strength and improved very quickly. Half a year ago, she had already broken through to Soul Emperor. Now, she had reached rank 63 and was breaking through to rank 64. One had to know that this was the Soul Emperor rank. To be able to increase 3 levels in half a year was simply terrifying. On average, she would increase 1 level in 2 months. Although Hulaina broke through to rank 61 after obtaining the Soul Ring, she didn't eat any immortal medicine, nor did she learn any soul power control method. In fact, Lin Feng's life force had affected her to a certain extent, but it wasn't a big part of it. Hulaina relied more on her own strength to achieve this. She was simply too powerful. Suddenly, Hulaina's soul power shook in her room. Then, she opened her eyes and her face was full of joy. Success! I broke through to rank 64. First, Hulaina shouted excitedly. Then, she muttered, Yanzhen, I'm 1 step closer to you. When we meet in the future, I'll definitely surprise you. Although Lin Feng hadn't come to Martial Spirit City to look for her, Hulaina's impression of Lin Feng was getting deeper and deeper. Hulaina set Lin Feng as her belief, a target that she needed to get closer to. Under such circumstances, she was full of motivation. At the same time, Lin Feng's weight in her heart was getting heavier and heavier. And Lin Feng was still unaware of all this. He had almost forgotten about Hulaina. After all, he was too busy traveling all over the continent to deal with all kinds of issues. At the same time, he had to stay in Heavendoe City for 3 days at the beginning of each month to discuss the alliance with Ningfengji. However, in the past month or so, Lin Feng's luck had been pretty good. Thanks to his persuasion, he had managed to persuade 8 titled battle pet warriors to join him, including Dolu. There should have been more, but after traveling all over the continent, Lin Feng realized that most of the people he had marked had moved away. Lin Feng was in a hurry, so he didn't go to them. Therefore, for the time being, Lin Feng was confident that he could persuade 2 more titled battle pet warriors. As for anything more, it could only be discussed in the future. Lin Feng could understand what those people were thinking. After all, the most important thing about those people and forces was that they preferred peace and quiet. They either wanted to reach a higher level or they didn't want to be tied down by the world. Lin Feng had disturbed them by looking for them. It was normal for them to move away. Lin Feng even guessed that some of the people he had talked to so far were just pretending to cater to him. When the day came, not many of them would show up. Lin Feng wouldn't say anything about this for the time being, but he would write it down in his notebook. When the Soul Master Alliance grew bigger in the future, he would make trouble for those people. Of course, he would catch them and beat them up for a few days. If they resisted, he might even kill them as an example to others. After all, those people had promised him but failed. Under such circumstances, Lin Feng wouldn't hesitate to kill them. While Lin Feng was thinking about this, Yu Guan and Gui Mei's investigation was progressing rapidly. They began to secretly contact the forces of the Heavendoe Empire, as well as the spies they had planted, and then filtered out the information they wanted. Ningfengji didn't reveal too much about the situation when he tried to rope in those forces. He also told them not to deliberately spread the news. But this matter couldn't be hidden. After all, he had told too many people, and people would subconsciously ask each other for confirmation. It was just like how you would ask your classmates how many points they scored after the exam results were out. This was a very normal phenomenon. Because of this, a lot of information about the Soul Master Alliance was circulating in the circle. Under such circumstances, the news started to spread slowly. Although it wasn't much, it was more than enough for Yu Guan and the others to confirm the truth. Just like that, Yu Guan and Gui Mei quickly returned to Martial Spirit City and told Bibi Dong everything they had seen and heard. At this time, there was only a month left until the formation of the Soul Master Alliance. At this moment, the Martial Spirit Hall's forces weren't gathered yet. Coupled with the fact that the timing wasn't right, Bibi Dong didn't act rashly. She continued to let Yu Guan and Gue Mei hide in Heaven-Do City to gather information. As for herself, she quickly gathered her forces and prepared for war. This time, Bibi Dong wanted to fight a sneak attack, not a head-on battle. Therefore, confidentiality was the most important thing. She didn't plan to set off immediately. Instead, she was going to wait for the best time to set off. In terms of strength, Bibi Dong didn't plan to bring too many people. After all, it was inconvenient to move with too many people. She would only take all the elders of the martial spirit hall, those who had reached the level of titled Dolu. As for Sol Dolua, she would bring 3 of the strongest ones, the ones who were comparable to titled Dolua. In addition, Bibi Dong also persuaded 2 worshippers of the martial spirit hall to follow her in the sneak attack. In total, the number of titled Dolua sent by the martial spirit hall this time was 15. In addition to the 3 powerful Soul Dolua, there were a total of 18 titled Dolua Soul Masters. If they launched a sneak attack, no one could stop them. And this was where Bibi Dong's confidence came from. At this time, the continent had become peaceful again because of the disappearance of the Marvel family. However, this was just the calm before the storm. The world of Soul Masters was going to welcome a great upheaval. A month later, many people were looking forward to this time. Bibi Dong was looking forward to the future of the Martial Spirit Hall. She was thinking about the rise of the Martial Spirit Empire. They would be unparalleled. And those forces that were roped in by Ningfengji were thinking about what benefits they would get after joining this alliance, and what kind of conflict would occur between the alliance and the Martial Spirit Hall. As for the hidden forces, most of them felt that this alliance was very novel. After all, it was an epic-making product, and Lin Feng had said many benefits of the alliance. For these old antiques who had lived for hundreds of years, it was still very attractive. Of course, there were also a small number of people who didn't care about this alliance. They were very strong and had even reached level 97 or 98. The first goal of these people was to become gods. As for the rest, they didn't care at all. Under such circumstances, Lin Feng didn't force them too much. He didn't care about these people for the time being and just treated them as power banks for the future. As for the Clear Sky sect, Tang Xiao had already discussed with a few elders that the Clear Sky sect was going to officially appear. During this period, Tang Xiao even went to the vicinity of Heaven-Do City to look for a good place to build a mountain. For a time, the undercurrents of various forces were turbulent, looking forward to the arrival of a month later. Chapter 440. While the outside world was imperceptibly changing, Nodding City was as calm as ever. It was just a small city, and it wasn't very strong. When the Marvel family swept the continent, they didn't even come to small cities like this. Not long ago, the Nodding City Elementary Soul Master Academy had started a new semester. Xiao Ying and Erming had already been sent to the academy. Xiao Wu was afraid that Xiao Ying and the others wouldn't be able to adapt, so she stayed with them in the city. As for Tang Hao and Tang San, they stayed in Mont Forest. Tang Hao chatted with Ian every day and was very happy. On the other hand, Tang San was working hard to cultivate. Today, he had a feeling that he was going to break through to rank 70. After cultivating for so long, the soul power in his body had reached a critical point. Now, he was going to break through this barrier in one go. Unsurprisingly, under the impact of Tang San's soul power, he finally broke through to rank 70. However, Tang San wasn't in a hurry to obtain a soul ring. Instead, he continued to cultivate. Currently, Tang San had absorbed Ian's 100,000-year soul bone. His body was very strong. If he obtained his 7th soul ring, he would be able to absorb at least 90,000-year soul beasts. However, he didn't have the ability to kill such a strong soul beast. After all, a 90,000-year soul beast was comparable to a weaker titled Dolu. It was about the same as his father, Tang Hao. Furthermore, such soul beasts usually lived in the depths of the forest. It was too dangerous there. Even a titled Dolua wouldn't dare to fight alone there. After all, there were too many soul beasts living there. Once the commotion of a battle spread, he could be surrounded. Because of this danger, Tang San wasn't in a hurry to obtain his 7th soul ring. Instead, he cultivated while waiting for Lin Feng to return. Feng Gu was very strong. Tang San couldn't see through him. He was a mystery. Tang San thought that when Feng Gu came back, he would ask him to bring him to hunt soul beasts. Or, he could ask Mr. Destroy for help. The 7th soul ring was the most important soul ring for a soul master. After all, the soul skill that came with it was martial soul true body. This soul skill had the greatest impact on a soul master's strength. The stronger the 7th soul ring, the stronger the soul master's martial soul true body would be. The increase in overall strength that followed was, of course, the greatest. Therefore, on such an important matter, Tang San did not act recklessly. Instead, he chose to be more prudent. On Lin Feng's side, there was less than a month left until all of the powerful beings gathered at Heaven Do City. During this period of time, Lin Feng was the busiest. He needed to make a final plan, and he also needed to persuade the few hidden experts who were wavering on their decision. It would be best if he succeeded in persuading them. However, if he failed, Lin Feng would have to spar with them every day for the next few days. After all, if these people didn't go to Heaven Do City, it would be more difficult for Lin Feng to gain experience from them in the future. Therefore, he decided to give them experience in advance. In this way, Lin Feng could put these people aside for the time being. He would come back to look for them after a long time. Just like that, according to Lin Feng's train of thought, half a month passed very quickly. 5 days later, Lin Feng, Ning Fengji, and the others agreed to meet at the Shrek Academy. Lin Feng was in a very good mood. This was because he had done most of the things that he needed to do. In terms of experience, he had also earned a lot. Currently, Lin Feng's experience points had increased by more than 7 billion after upgrading his million-year soul ring. When the soul union was established, his efficiency in gaining experience points would increase. He estimated that he would be able to upgrade another million-year soul ring in half a year's time. Of course, this was on the premise that the Soul Master Alliance continued to develop according to his plan. As he thought about this, Lin Feng arrived at the Monty Forest. Tomorrow was the day that Shrek's 7 monsters would reunite. At this time, Lin Feng had come to the Monty Forest specifically to bring Xiao Wu and Tang San to Heaven Do City. As for Tang Hao, he actually wanted to go as well. However, he had to take care of Gu Ian, so he stayed in the Monty Forest in the end. After seeing Tang San, Lin Feng didn't say much and directly brought him to Nodding City. "Let's go to Nodding City." On the way, Tang San smiled and said, "Feng Gu, I've broken through to rank 70. After hearing this, Lin Feng knew what Tang San meant. He nodded and said, "That's right. Xiao Ao has also broken through to become a Soul Emperor. When the time comes, I'll bring the 2 of you to hunt for soul rings." Xiao Ao is already a Soul Emperor. What about Fatty and Rongrong? Tang San asked curiously. "You'll know when the time comes." Lin Feng didn't say much and quickly arrived at Nodding City. He had placed a necklace on Xiao Wu, Xiao Ying, and Erming. They would usually wear it around their necks. This necklace was formed by Lin Feng's 1000 trickster ruler. It allowed Lin Feng to locate them so that he could quickly find them. Furthermore, this necklace was also an alarm. If they encountered danger, they just had to inject their soul power into the necklace and Lin Feng would be able to sense it. The principle was the same as the token given to Xueqinghe, except that it was of a higher level. Just like that, after picking up Xiao Wu, the 3 of them quickly rushed to Shrek Academy. After spending half a day, Lin Feng brought the 2 of them to the Academy's gate. "There's been a huge change here." Xiao Wu sighed. Right now, the news of the Soul Master Alliance being established had spread throughout Heavendo City. The headquarters of the Alliance, Shrek Academy, had become the focus of everyone's attention. Coupled with the approaching date, the Academy became very prosperous. There were many people entering and exiting the gate. Some were sent by the leaders of the factions to check on the situation, while some were personally sent by the leaders to scout. There were also many factions that relied on the Martial Spirit Hall. They would also send people to scout. It's quite big. Tang San nodded. Stop sighing, let's go in. Lin Feng smiled and said, I told Grandmaster and the others the date of your arrival. It's today. I think they're all waiting for you now. With a smile, Lin Feng quickly led the two of them into the academy. The main road of the academy had been widened. As they walked, Lin Feng even saw a few people from the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. However, they didn't stop at all and went straight to the center of the forest. Elder Tai Tan? Why are you here? As they walked, Tang San suddenly asked in surprise. This was because he saw Tai Tan on the way. It was obvious that he had just come out from the depths of the forest. Greetings, Sect Master. Tai Tan was stunned at first, then immediately ran over and knelt on one knee. Elder, please get up. Tang San hurriedly went up to help him up. Following that, Tai Tan sighed with emotion for a while before telling him the reason why he was here. It turned out that after Lin Feng's explanation, Grandmaster and the others had wantonly promoted the flying-type soul tool in the city, which was the wings of the sky. Furthermore, they had investigated the number of nobles and high-level soul masters in Heavendo City, as well as how rich some people were. Finally, according to the current situation, they changed the price of the wings of the sky to 30,000 gold coins each. This way, with a good promotion, the sales were still very impressive. However, because it was a first-generation product, and because there was very little experimental data, only Grandmaster, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar were testing it. Under such circumstances, the wings of the sky still had many problems. After all, the three of them were too narrow-minded. After selling it, many problems were discovered, and some people wanted to return it. Faced with such a situation, they naturally wouldn't return it if they could. After all, it was all money. Tai Tan immediately collected these problems and fed them back to Grandmaster, Oscar, and the others. Regarding this, the few of them attached great importance to it. They immediately improved it and continued testing it. However, this delayed a lot of time. Tai Tan was here to take a look at the situation and see how the progress was. As he spoke, Tai Tan waved his hand and took out a few blueprints from the soul tool. He smiled and said, "We're in luck. Grandmaster and the others have already produced the new generation of the wings of the sky. We're preparing to start production. Since that's the case, Elder, you can return to the Tang sect to prepare for production. I'll go over to take a look tonight." Tang San smiled. After 3 years of growth, Tang San had matured a lot. In addition to his increase in size, he really sounded like a sect master when he spoke now. Yes. Tai Tan cupped his hands and quickly walked out. After he walked away, Xiao Wu said excitedly, "A soul tool that can fly must be very cool. I wanted to try it when Feng Gu told me about it. Now that the improved version has come out, I'll definitely have fun later." "You'll have fun later." After patting Xiao Wu's head, Lin Feng continued to lead the two of them inside. After walking for about a minute, the three of them saw the huge laboratory in the distance. "It's Feng Gu and the others. He's back with third brother and Xiao Wu." Outside the door, Oscar and Ma Hongjun seemed to be still experimenting and discovered the three of them immediately. As for Grandmaster, he was still in the laboratory. However, after hearing this surprised shout, he immediately put down what he was doing and ran outside. "Fatty, Xiao Ao, long time no see." Tang San and Xiao Wu greeted them excitedly. They hadn't seen each other for 3 years. After seeing each other again, they were very emotional. Very soon, Grandmaster also ran out. After seeing the two of them, He immediately gave Tang San a big hug. In the beginning, in Grandmaster's eyes, Tang San was his experimental subject, a tool to prove that his theory was correct. However, after spending a long time together, he already treated Tang San as his own son. When Tang Hao took Tang San away, Grandmaster didn't say anything on the surface, but he was very worried in his heart. Now that they had not seen each other for 3 years, he still missed him very much. The few of them chatted for a while before they slowly calmed down the excitement in their hearts. Today we must have a good drink to celebrate, Ma Hongjun cheered. Lin Feng flicked his head and said, "What's the hurry? If we calculate the time, Take Chi and Mu Bai will be here tomorrow. It won't be too late to celebrate then." "Oh, Ma Hongjun said while covering his head. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu asked, "Feng Gu, when is Rongrong coming? Rongrong? Isn't she already here?" Lin Feng smiled as he pointed behind everyone. Not far away, Ning Rongrong was running towards them with an excited look on her face. Ning Rongrong had been in the academy for the past few days. At first, she was loitering around the laboratory, but she was too bored watching the 3 of them experimenting, so she went to help Ning Fengji. After all, the Soul Master Alliance was about to be established, and there was a lot of preparatory work to be done. Ning Rongrong was busy with this. Lin Feng also knew this, which was why he didn't mention Ning Rongrong earlier. "Rongrong!" Xiao Wu excitedly went forward to greet her. "Xiao Wu!" Ning Rongrong also shouted, and the 2 of them hugged each other. Over the past 3 years, everyone had grown up and became stronger, but the relationship between Shrek's 7 monsters didn't break at all. Instead, it became deeper and deeper as time passed. When the 5 of them were talking earlier, Xiao Wu was the one who spoke the least. However, after meeting Ning Rongrong, the 2 of them immediately chattered non-stop, and left everyone else to the side. Everyone was no longer surprised by this. In the past, the 3 girls were like this when they talked, and they didn't pay attention to anyone else. It was the same now. Needless to say, this special tacit understanding quickly warmed them up. At the same time, in Martial Soul City, Bibi Dong already knew that there were only a few days until the Soul Master Alliance was established. They had to infiltrate Heaven Do City in advance, so that they could have an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. The operation this time was top secret, so Bibi Dong had not leaked any information so far. She knew that there were spies from the 2 empires in the Martial Soul Hall, and even some elders had secret dealings with the 2 empires. Normally, she wouldn't care about these things. However, they were going to do something that would determine the future of the world of Soul Masters, so Bibi Dong kept a tight lid on information. Currently, no one knew what was going on in the city. At this moment, the atmosphere in the Elder Hall was still a little tense because they were about to set off. However, Bibi Dong had already prepared these people in advance, and would even give them soul bones as a reward when the time came. Under such circumstances, as long as they didn't screw up, the sneak attack should be a sure thing. At the same time, in a dense forest 300 kilometers south of Heaven Do City, Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing had changed into casual clothes, and were rushing towards Heaven Do City. The 2 of them had snuck out. After all, their status in the Star Luo Empire was too high, and they couldn't leave the empire openly. The 2 of them had matured a lot now. After all, their environment was different. Although they were very talented and powerful, the power struggles in their families and the imperial family would never stop. Over the past 3 years, the 2 of them had planned to live peacefully with their siblings. However, there were always people who didn't realize how powerful they were and did stupid things. Helpless, the 2 of them fought back and quelled the power struggles in their families and the imperial family. As for their siblings, the smarter ones could still stay, but the stupid ones were either crippled or exiled, depending on the situation. In the end, the 2 of them calmed down, and at the same time, the 2 of them grew a lot. Chapter 441. The next morning, Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai walked into Heaven-Do City. As they looked at the bustling streets and the passers-by, the two of them were full of admiration. 3 years ago, when they were still at the Shrek Academy, they knew what the city was like. However, after 3 years, Heaven-Do City had become so bustling. It was truly shocking. Furthermore, they could see people flying in the sky not far away. There were quite a few of them, 6 or 7 of them. This made the two of them very puzzled. Did these people all have the same flying-type soul beasts? Otherwise, why would the wings on their backs be the same? However, there were too many of them. In the past, the two of them had never seen such a scene. Therefore, they were very curious when they saw it now. Most importantly, the two of them had snuck out. They had been hiding along the way, so they weren't very clear about the situation in the Heaven-Do Empire. Furthermore, because of Martial Spirit City, it was very difficult for news from the Heaven-Do Empire to reach the Star Luo Empire. They only heard that Ningfengji was going to rebuild the Soul Master Alliance. Other than that, they weren't very clear about anything else. Wings of the Sky. The second generation of the Wings of the Sky. It's a brand new version that you haven't played before. All the previous flaws have been fixed. It's a profit if you can buy it. As they walked, a hawking voice suddenly attracted Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai's attention. They looked in the direction of the voice and realized that it was a very special shop. The shop only sold one thing, a pair of wings. At this moment, many people were looking around the shop. There were many shop assistants in the shop explaining to these people. Zhu Zhuqing realized that the wings sold here were exactly the same as the wings on the backs of the people from before. Tang Sect. At this moment, Dai Mubai saw a signboard above the shop. The words Tang Sect were written on it. Zhu Zhuqing was also puzzled. This is the Tang Sect shop? Third brother opened it? Let's go. Let's go to the academy to take a look. We'll know everything when we get there, Dai Mubai said. They didn't go to the shop to ask anything. That would be useless. They directly went to Tang San to find out. Furthermore, the fewer people they saw when they snuck out, the lower the chances of them being recognized. Just like that, with their hearts full of curiosity, the two of them quickly walked towards the Shrek Academy. Along the way, they saw many more pedestrians than before, and the exclamations in their hearts never stopped. At the same time, in the heart of the Academy's forest, Lin Feng and the others had already prepared a luxurious feast, waiting for the two of them to arrive. After 3 years of separation, they were going to meet again today. Everyone was looking forward to it. Moreover, it wasn't just Xiao Ao, Little Three, and the others. Flender, Lu Erlong, Zhao Wuji, and the others had also come over, preparing to celebrate everyone's reunion. 5 minutes later, Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai arrived at the gate of the school. As soon as they arrived, the two of them were still marveling at the huge change in the entrance when Ma Hongjun and Ning Rongrong came up to them. Boss Dai? Takechi? Because they hadn't seen each other for 3 years, and it was during these 3 years that they had changed the most, and Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai had deliberately disguised themselves, the two of them were still a little uncertain. You're fatty? Dai Mubai said with a face full of surprise. Ma Hongjuan's transformation was too great. He had become much more handsome, and his body had also grown taller. At first glance, they couldn't recognize him at all. However, Zhu Zhuqing at the side recognized Ning Rongrong immediately. She said excitedly, "Rongrong, long time no see. It's really you guys. I thought I recognized the wrong person." Ma Hongjun laughed loudly. "You two specially came to welcome us? Where's Xiao San and the others?" Dai Mubai glanced and asked. "Yeah, where's Fenggo? Are they here too?" Zhu Zhuqing hurriedly asked. Ning Rongrong smiled and said, "We've already prepared a banquet at the place where we used to live. Fenggo and the others are all there." Ma Hongjun also said, "Boss Dai, we must drink to our heart's content today." Of course. Dai Mubai also smiled. They were very excited to meet again after such a long time. However, after chatting for a while, Ma Hongjun didn't delay any longer and immediately led the group to the center of the hall. For a moment, when everyone saw each other, they all excitedly chatted. Zhu Zhuqing was usually a very taciturn person, but today, due to her agitated mood, she spoke a lot. Today we, Shrek's 7 monsters, are able to gather again. First of all, we would like to thank the Marvel family behind Mr. Destroy, and then we would like to thank Feng Go. Let's toast to Feng Go. Everyone cheered and raised their glasses to Lin Feng. Even Grandmaster, Flanders, and the others did the same. They agreed with this sentence from the bottom of their hearts. Lin Feng and the Marvel family behind him had helped them a lot. It could be said that if it weren't for Thanos, all of them might have died in front of the Pontiff's palace. Later on, if it weren't for the Marvel family's reputation on the continent, the Shrek Academy wouldn't have had such a great reputation now. Not to mention that Ning Fengji valued this place, and built the Alliance headquarters in the Academy. Therefore, everyone was very grateful to Lin Feng and the Marvel family behind him. Lin Feng didn't say much about this. He smiled and drank the glass of wine. Second, we would like to thank Grandmaster, Dean, Teacher Zhao, Teacher Liu, and the others. Without their guidance, we wouldn't be gathered here. The second glass of wine was toasted to Grandmaster and the others. They were teachers and elders, so they deserved this bow. Soon, everyone drank the second glass of wine excitedly. Third, we would like to thank Shrek Academy. This academy is our alma mater, and it is also the place we are proud of. Let's toast to it. After 3 glasses of wine, everyone became even more excited. Then, everyone reminisced about the past at the dining table, and the atmosphere was very good. Some of the interesting stories were told, and everyone laughed. Lin Feng was also immersed in this changed atmosphere. Towards the end of the meal, most of the interesting stories were told, and everyone began to talk about their experiences in the past 3 years. Grandmaster, Flanders, and the others were fine. What happened in the past 3 years wasn't much different, so there was nothing much to talk about. Most importantly, it was Shrek's 7 monsters who were talking. The first to speak was Ma Hongjun, who was the most active during this period. He smiled and said, "These 3 years have been okay. When I first stayed in the academy, I wanted to stay and be a teacher. I cultivated every day to become a Soul King. After I became a Soul King, I suddenly remembered that I promised third brother that I would join the Tang sect. So, I joined the Tang sect with Xiao Ao. After joining the Tang sect, third brother wasn't around, and there wasn't much to do, so we basically stayed in the academy. After that, Xiao Ao was fascinated by Grandmaster's soul tool skills. I saw that it was okay, so I learned from him. After that, I met Feng Ge, and then... The rest of the story was about what happened after Lin Feng came to Heavendo City. They had talked about these things before, so Ma Hongjun quickly brought it over. Fatty is impressive. He actually created a flying soul tool like the wings of the sky. Daimubai praised. Not long after he came to the academy, he and Zhu Zhuqing had asked about the wings of the sky. Now, they knew that it was created by Grandmaster and the other 2. You flatter me. Ma Hongjun waved his hand and said self-consciously, I didn't do much. It was mainly Xiao Ao and Grandmaster's work. Oscar smiled and said, At least you know what you're doing. Ha ha ha. After hearing this, everyone burst out laughing. After that, Oscar started to talk about his own experiences. My experiences over the past 3 years are similar to Fatty's. We both cultivated in the academy for a period of time, then joined the Tang sect. Finally, we learned soul tool skills from Grandmaster. However, I'm much more hardworking than Fatty. I think soul tool skills are very magical. If I can master it well, I feel that it will benefit the entire world of soul masters. However, after learning soul tool skills, I spent less time cultivating than Fatty. He's already rank 63, but I haven't broken through to rank 60. Xiao Ao. Grandmaster comforted him. Your cultivation speed isn't slow either. I think you'll be able to break through in 1 or 2 days if you cultivate properly. Oscar could have broken through to rank 60 a few days ago. However, because he needed to develop the second generation of the Wings of the Sky, he was delayed for a long time. Even so, because of the way he controlled his soul power, he could break through in another 2 days at most. Yes, Oscar smiled and said, I'm not worried about my cultivation speed. I became a Soul Emperor at the age of 20. That's already very fast. To be honest, a Soul Emperor at the age of 20 was already considered a super genius. Hulaina was only a Soul King when she was 20. Therefore, Oscar wasn't very worried about his soul power rank. He was just a little uncomfortable. After all, compared to Zhu Zhuqing, Ning Rongrong, and Ma Hongjun, he still couldn't compare to them. Very quickly, the third person, Ning Rongrong, said, I've been rather monotonous these 3 years. Other than spending some time at Shrek Academy to check on the situation, I've spent most of my time cultivating in the 7 Treasures glazed sect. Previously, Feng Gu even brought me to the setting sun forest to hunt for a powerful soul ring. I'm already rank 62 now. When she said rank 62, Ning Rongrong looked at Oscar with a smug look, which made him even more depressed. The fourth person to speak was Dai Mubai. I've also been monotonous these 3 years. It's just the boring struggle for the royal family. My brother wanted to find trouble with me, but I crippled his martial soul and exiled him. After that, I reorganized my forces. Now, all the nobles in the country support me. As for my current strength, I'm a little stronger than all of you. I'm already rank 67. After becoming a Soul Emperor, every increase in rank was very difficult. Even Dai Mubai needed 3 to 4 months to increase his rank. Therefore, his rank 67 was still very high. Boss Dai is indeed Boss Dai. You're amazing. Ma Hongjun laughed. After that, Zhu Zhuqing said, My experience in these 3 years is similar to Boss Dai's. The main thing is that there were internal conflicts in my family. It took me more than a year to resolve them. Now I'm rank 65. Rank 65? Everyone was shocked. Dai Mubai was rank 67 because his soul power rank was higher than everyone else's. Therefore, it was normal for him to reach rank 67 now. This meant that he had been working very hard for the past 3 years. However, Zhu Zhuqing's situation was completely different from Dai Mubai's. Her strength was on the same level as Ma Hongjun and Ning Rongrong. The reason why Oscar was upset was because he was surpassed by these 3 people. But now Zhu Zhuqing had actually surpassed the 2 people in the same level and reached the extremely high rank 65. This was really shocking. There was also one more thing. Although Zhu Zhuqing said it casually, it took more than a year to resolve the conflict. It was obvious that his cultivation time was not as long as Ma Hongjuan's. But now, his level was actually 2 levels higher than Ma Hongjuan's and only 2 levels lower than Dai Mubai's. Amazing! Dai Mubai also gave a thumbs up. He didn't know Zhu Zhuqing's exact strength before. The other party didn't say, so he was very surprised when he heard it now. It's mainly because of Feng Gu. The immortal medicine he gave me back then was very effective. Also, the things he taught me were very helpful. Zhu Zhuqing laughed. Among the immortal medicines back then, the yearning heartbroken red that Zhu Zhuqing ate had the strongest effect and the biggest improvement. Coupled with her own hard work, she had her current achievement. It's mainly because of your hard work. Lin Feng laughed. No one was jealous of this. They only admired her from the bottom of their hearts. Soon, Xiao Wu said, in these 3 years, the first 2 years were very boring. Feng Gu threw me into the Star Do Great Forest and made me cultivate desperately. Later, I met Feng Gu and slowly became happy. Star Do Great Forest? Zhu Zhuqing was stunned. Everyone was slightly confused. After all, the Star Do Great Forest was too dangerous. Why would Feng Gu throw Xiao Wu into such a place? Hearing this, Xiao Wu laughed. Mr. Destroy tamed many powerful soul beasts. I have the protection of these soul beasts, so I can be unharmed in the forest and smoothly reach rank 73. What? Tamed soul beasts? Rank 73? How is this possible? After Xiao Wu finished speaking, everyone was shocked. These two pieces of news, no matter which one it was, were enough to shock everyone. But now that they both appeared at the same time, everyone was a little stunned. Taming soul beasts was something that countless soul masters in the world of soul masters wanted to do, but in the end, they could only create places like the soul hunting forest. As for completely tamed soul beasts like pets, it wasn't that there weren't any, but it was very rare, and the soul beasts weren't very strong. But now, according to Xiao Wu, the soul beast that could guarantee that she wouldn't be harmed in the Star Do Great Forest was definitely not weak. And it was tamed by Mr. Destroy, so its strength was estimated to be at least 50,000 years. If this news spread in the world of soul masters, it would probably make all the soul masters boil. Chapter 442. Being able to tame a soul beast was enough to shock the entire world of soul masters. And level 73? How old was Xiao Wu? She seemed to be younger than Tang San. She wasn't even 18 yet, but she was able to reach rank 73 at such a young age. Her cultivation speed could only be described as ridiculous. No one would believe this news if it was spread. After all, it was too unbelievable. Is that true? Xiao Wu, you've already become a soul sage? Dai Mubai asked. Xiao Wu's strength had already been revealed a little yesterday. Ma Hongjun, Oscar, and the others were already mentally prepared. Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai had just arrived. They didn't know anything, so they were extremely shocked. Yes. Xiao Wu nodded. With Feng Ji's help, I can improve so quickly. Everyone immediately turned to Lin Feng when they heard this. Ma Hongjun teased, Feng Gu, what kind of special treatment did you give Xiao Wu? You actually helped her improve so quickly. Lin Feng flipped his hand and gave Ma Hongjun a knock on the head. He jokingly scolded, You're only thinking about slacking off. Of course I gave her special treatment. Xiao Wu ate the spirit fruit I gave you last time. That's why her cultivation speed increased. However, that's only a secondary reason. The main reason is that Xiao Wu is hard-working enough. She's basically been sleeping or cultivating for the past 3 years. That's why she's able to become a soul sage. Lin Feng's words were a little exaggerated. However, it was undeniable that Xiao Wu was hard-working. Not really. I'm not as hard-working as Feng Gu says. I've played for quite some time, Xiao Wu said humbly. If it was in the past, Xiao Wu would definitely show off proudly. However, after 3 years, she had matured a lot. At least, she knew what modesty was. No matter what, Xiao Wu, you're a soul sage now. You're probably the strongest among us. Ning Rongrong said enviously. That's true. Tang San nodded and said, Even I can't compare to Xiao Wu. At this moment, the Grandmaster suddenly asked, Xiao Wu, what do you mean by taming soul beasts? Are those soul beasts really tamed? And how old are they? As for Grandmaster and the others, they were more concerned about the matter of taming soul beasts. After all, this was too important and they couldn't let it go. Hearing this, Xiao Wu did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked at Lin Feng. This action instantly made Lin Feng the center of attention. He smiled and said, They're all soul beasts that are tens of thousands of years old. There are also 100,000-year soul beasts that Mr. Destroy used a secret technique to tame. They can't be replicated. Soul beasts and humans were actually two completely opposite sides. High-level soul beasts hated soul masters very much. For example, Daming, Erming, and the others hated humans very much. If it weren't for Xiao Wu, Tang San, Lin Feng, and the others might have been attacked. The main reason why Lin Feng was able to tame Xiao Ying, Little Moon, and the others was because of his martial soul, the immeasurable flower. His immeasurable flower had a huge amount of life force. This martial soul made soul beasts subconsciously feel closer to Lin Feng. In addition, the magical life force could attract soul beasts. That was why Lin Feng was able to tame soul beasts. If it were other soul masters, it would be impossible to tame them. So that's how it is. The Marvel family actually has such a secret technique. It's really amazing. The master said regretfully, it's a pity that it can't be replicated. Otherwise, the entire world of soul masters will usher in an improvement. In the master's opinion, if the method of taming soul beasts could be learned, the relationship between soul masters and soul beasts might be eased, or even to the point of coexistence. However, the master's idea was too good. If a soul master wanted to improve his strength, he had to obtain soul rings. Soul rings were condensed by soul beasts at the cost of their lives. The relationship between the two was absolutely opposite. It was almost impossible for them to coexist, unless the soul beasts sacrificed themselves to the soul masters. In the original book, after soul beasts sacrificed themselves to the soul masters, they would not die completely. Instead, they would enter a soul state. Although there were many restrictions in this state, Lin Feng guessed that as long as the soul masters could become gods in the future, there was still a chance to revive them. Even if they did not become gods, if they paid a huge price, there was still a chance to revive them, just like Xiao Wu in the original book. They were sacrificed to Tang San, but they were still revived in the end. However, Lin Feng also knew that this method would not work. After all, the price was too high. Speaking of the progress of the world of soul masters, soul tool technology is the fastest way. Master, you guys work hard in your research. The soul tools developed in the future will only be stronger. Lin Feng changed the topic. Everyone's discussion about soul tools was also very heated. Soon, they had a heated discussion. After a while, Ma Hongjun said, "There's still third brother and Feng Gu who haven't talked about their experiences. Hurry up and tell us." At this time, everyone had drunk a lot of wine, especially Ma Hongjun. He was a little lightheaded, so his voice was a little loud. Hearing this, everyone cheered and asked Tang San and Lin Feng to talk about it. Regarding this, the two of them were not disappointed. Tang San said directly, "Not much happened in these 3 years. My father secretly trained me for half a year. After that, I entered the capital of Massacre to train for a year. After that, I went to the Clear Sky sect and met Feng Gu, Xiao Wu, and the others." Tang San's words were very simple, but everyone knew that there must have been many twists and turns. Especially the Master, Flanders, and the others. After hearing the name Capital of Massacre, their expressions changed. Capital of Massacre? Xiao San, you actually went to the capital of Massacre. You really don't want to live anymore. The Master said with a look of relief, "It's really unbelievable that you can appear in front of me in one piece. Master, what's wrong? Why are you so serious all of a sudden?" Everyone asked doubtfully. A place like the capital of Massacre was quite famous 20 years ago, and many soul masters knew about it. However, as the world of soul masters slowly stabilized and no longer caused any waves, this name was gradually forgotten. Shrek's 7 monsters were all young, so they didn't know much about the capital of Massacre, which was why they were doubtful now. Flanders explained, "The capital of Massacre is an extremely dangerous place. Normally, only those who have committed heinous crimes will go there. It's like hell, and no one who goes in has ever come out alive." There were many legends about the capital of Massacre, but most of them were rumors that it was very dangerous. However, not many people knew exactly how dangerous it was. The Master was shocked because he heard these rumors, which was why he was like this. The most important thing was that Tang San actually came out alive. It was really hard to believe. "Is it that dangerous?" everyone exclaimed. Ning Rongrong asked, "Third brother, how did you manage to come out of such a dangerous place? These words echoed the doubts in everyone's hearts. They really wanted to know how Tang San had managed to leave the capital of massacre. It's Feng Go. Feng Go brought me out. Tang San smiled. Speaking of which, Tang San's life wouldn't have been in too much danger if he had walked the Hell Road alone. However, Tang San couldn't be bothered to continue talking about these things, so he directly kicked the ball to Lin Feng. Feng Go? Everyone immediately looked at Lin Feng curiously. Feng Go, how did you do it? In the past 3 years, Feng Go must have experienced a lot. Lin Feng didn't know what to say. After glaring at Tang San, Lin Feng said, "The massacre city isn't actually that dangerous. It's just that it's a little bloody. Back then, it was Master Mia who brought me in. He was looking for someone to fight. Then, he happened to meet Xiao San who was opening the Hell's Road, so he came out along the way. As for my experience in the past 3 years, I've been running around with Mr. Destroy and seeing the world. There's nothing much to say." Hearing this, everyone understood that it was Lord Mia who had taken action and brought Tang San, Lin Feng, and the others out. Master Lin was confused. "But I heard that soul masters who enter the capital of massacre will have their soul power and soul skills sealed. Even a titled battle pet warrior like Doluo is no exception. Only the king of massacre can exert his strength in the capital of massacre." But Lord Thanos, although he didn't finish his sentence, everyone could tell that Master Lin was confused about Thanos' situation. Going to the capital of massacre to find someone to fight? What was the difference between that and seeking death? Lin Feng smiled. Mr. Destroy's martial soul is special. The suppression of the capital of massacre has no effect on him. That's why he was able to go in and bring us out. Mr. Destroy is so powerful. Ma Hongjun and the others immediately cheered in unison. These people had never been to the capital of massacre, so they didn't know what the suppression was. That was why they exclaimed. As for Master Lin and the others, although they were confused, it was a fact that Thanos had saved them. They also thought that Thanos was very powerful. Then, after everyone discussed for a while, the meal finally came to an end. Many people were drunk and fell asleep on the table, especially Ma Hongjun. He drank until he collapsed after shouting that Mr. Destroy was so powerful. Those who weren't drunk were mostly half-drunk. They were mumbling something, and all of them were drowsy. Master Lin, Flanders, and the others left directly. They went to the Soul Master Alliance to check on the situation. At this moment, only Shrek's 7 monsters and Lin Feng were left at the banquet. The 2 people who weren't drunk, Tang San and Lin Feng, brought everyone back to their rooms one by one. Those who were completely drunk were fine. For example, Ma Hongjun, Dai Mubai, and Ning Rongrong. Those who were half-drunk were Oscar, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqing. The 3 of them were a little too talkative. Oscar muttered to himself about how he wanted to bring Soul Tool technology to greater heights in the future. Xiao Wu was talking about how she wanted to beat up Tang San. Tang San was speechless when he carried her back to bed. As for Zhu Zhuqing, Lin Feng had mixed feelings about her. Initially, he thought that time would dilute Zhu Zhuqing's love for him. However, Lin Feng thought too much. Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong were the same. As time passed, they didn't forget Lin Feng. Instead, their impression of him deepened. Speaking of which, Lin Feng thought too much. He thought that the girls on Dolua's continent would be the same as the modern girls in his memory. However, this was a feudal era. Girls were more conservative. After they had someone they liked, it was difficult to change anything. Therefore, time wouldn't erase their love. It would only make it stronger. Feng Go, I miss you so much. Zhu Zhuqing kept muttering this sentence as Lin Feng carried her into the room. I'm here. Lin Feng tidied Zhu Zhuqing's hair and said with a smile. Feng Go? Zhu Zhuqing was stunned. Then, she immediately said, Don't leave me, okay? As she spoke, she hugged Lin Feng like a huge octopus. A long time ago, when he first met Zhu Zhuqing, Lin Feng couldn't help but stare at her voluptuous figure. Now, so many years had passed. Zhu Zhuqing's figure had become even more perfect. At this time, she wrapped Lin Feng's body. He really couldn't stand it. However, the situation was obviously not right at this time. Tang San was still watching, and Lin Feng still had something to do today. He pulled Zhu Zhuqing off his body and put her on her bed. "Feng go, don't go!" Zhu Zhuqing immediately shouted as if she noticed Lin Feng's departure. Hearing this, Lin Feng, who was about to leave, stopped. Then, he turned around and kissed Zhu Zhuqing on her forehead. "Have a good sleep." With a smile, Lin Feng left. In the room, Zhu Zhuqing had already quieted down. Her face was red. She was drunk, but not completely drunk. Zhu Zhuqing knew what she said and the situation just now. It was because of this that she was so excited after being kissed by Lin Feng. Zhu Zhuqing lay on her side on the bed. Her heart was beating so fast that it couldn't calm down. It was as if there was a deer running around in her heart. Feng Go kissed me. He actually took the initiative to kiss me. What did this mean? Did he like me? And just now I actually took the initiative to hug Feng Go. It was too embarrassing. But then again it was so warm. Feng Ji's chest felt like the safest place in the world. Zhu Zhuqing only did this because she was drunk. Otherwise, she wouldn't have dared to do this under normal circumstances. However, because of the tiredness of the journey and the joy of the banquet just now, Zhu Zhuqing was very happy. Soon, Zhu Zhuqing fell asleep with the sweetness of Lin Feng in her arms. At the same time, Lin Feng and Tang San exchanged a few words. Then, they quickly left Heaven Do City and scattered across the continent. In Lin Feng's plan, he was going to check out the situation of the hidden powerhouses and hidden organizations today. The Soul Master Alliance was about to be established. He had to confirm it. After that, he would discuss the situation in the Star Luo Empire with Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai. Finally, after confirming the situation, Lin Feng was going to prepare for the first Soul Master Alliance tournament. Chapter 443. Lin Feng left Heaven Do City quietly, without the slightest disturbance. At this moment, Lin Feng couldn't even be bothered to fly. He teleported to the other side of the continent in the shortest time possible. After all he had to do was confirm whether or not those people from before were coming, so he didn't need much time. It was currently 2 in the afternoon, so Lin Feng estimated that he would be able to return to the Shrek Academy around 7 in the evening. While Lin Feng was surveying the continent, Bibi Dong had already arrived at the Sylvis Kingdom with the Martial Soul Hall. This kingdom was located to the north of the Balak Kingdom, and it was still some distance away from Heaven Do City. Normally, Bibi Dong would have already arrived at Heaven Do City with his people. However, due to the need to maintain secrecy, the group traveled very slowly. Bibi Dong was also very careful, so it took a lot of time. Reporting to Your Holiness, all the leaders of the various factions are rushing toward Heaven Do City. They will gather at the Shrek Academy in 3 days. Gui Mei's figure appeared in front of Bibi Dong, and he brought the latest news from Heaven Do City. Bibi Dong had sent Gui Mei and Yu Guan to Heaven Do City in advance, and he didn't recall them even though they were in the middle of a secret operation. From this, one could see how much Bibi Dong trusted the two of them. Very good. In 3 days, the Soul Master Alliance will be wiped out. Bibi Dong smiled. Go and investigate. We'll meet up the day after tomorrow. Yes. Gui Mei replied, and he disappeared in an instant. Bibi Dong and the others also traveled toward Heaven Do City in an even more secretive manner. After an entire afternoon of traveling, Lin Feng had a rough idea of the situation. Previously, he had negotiated with a total of 11 powerhouses. Among them, 5 were solo powerhouses, while the remaining 6 were from hidden forces. In fact, these factions were all small families with 2 or 3 generations of descendants, and there were no more than 50 people at most. Of course, secluded forces and secluded warriors were the same in Lin Feng's eyes. What he wanted was the one with the title Doluo. But now, Lin Feng realized that he was wrong. There was a huge difference between an individual powerhouse and a clan powerhouse, because if he was alone, he would have too few things to worry about. On the other hand, the clan's experts were bound by kinship. They were very conservative in their actions and did not dare to make any rash changes. After half a day, Lin Feng had finished visiting these 11 places. In the end, 3 out of the 5 individual powerhouses ran away. As for the remaining 2, Lin Feng discovered that one of them truly wanted to join the Soul Master Alliance. He had been fooled by the beautiful future that Lin Feng had described. As for the other person, he was just curious and didn't really care about joining the alliance. As for the 6 titled Doluo, all of them were there. Not a single one of them had run away. This was still quite impactful for Lin Feng. He had thought that there wasn't much difference between the two. But in reality there was such a huge difference. Lin Feng was a little helpless about this. But he knew that this was normal. However, even though it was normal, these people had promised Lin Feng that they would help him. Now that they had broken their promises, Lin Feng made a mental note of them. If he met them in the future, he would definitely give them a good beating. Now, after another round of confirmation, there will be 8 hidden powerhouses participating in the Soul Master Alliance's gathering in 3 days. All of them would be titled Doluo. Some of them even wanted to bring their juniors over to train. When the time came, there would probably be a few more Soul Doluo and Soul Sages among the people who would come. Of course, Lin Feng didn't care too much about Soul Masters below titled Doluo. After confirming the information one last time, Lin Feng didn't delay and quickly returned to the Shrek Academy. He had been teleporting all the way here, so he didn't notice Bibi Dong and the others. But then again, even if Lin Feng flew all the way, even if he flew over Bibi Dong and the others, he probably wouldn't notice anything. After all, when Lin Feng flew, he was at an extremely high altitude. Moreover, he was in a hurry. If Lin Feng didn't realize that Bibi Dong would ambush him, he wouldn't take the initiative to investigate. Therefore, under such circumstances, it was normal that he didn't notice anything unusual. In the evening, Lin Feng arrived at the Shrek Academy. At this moment, because everyone was drunk, they were still sleeping. It seemed like they wouldn't be waking up for a while. As for the Grandmaster, he was doing research in the laboratory. As for Tang San, he was watching from the side. Tang San was very interested in soul tool technology. Before the competition, he had studied it with the Grandmaster for a period of time. Now that the Grandmaster had grasped an even more powerful technology, the first thing he wanted to do was impart it to Tang San. Tang San was also very eager to learn, so he was very serious at this moment. As for Lin Feng, he was more inclined towards theoretical research. He was interested in soul power, soul skills, soul beasts, and so on, so he could study them calmly. However, he wasn't interested in soul tools. Therefore, Lin Feng had never thought of learning the Grandmaster's soul tool technology. Xiao San, how do you feel? Is it difficult? Lin Feng smiled as he walked in. It's not difficult. Tang San shook his head. Making soul tools feels very similar to making hidden weapons. I'm better at this, so I learned it very quickly. The Grandmaster also smiled and said, Xiao San is the fastest learner I've ever seen. Xiao Ao isn't slow either, and his ideas are very open. I believe that he will soon surpass me with Xiao San in the future. To be honest, the Grandmaster himself was very strong in the research of soul tool technology. The reason why he praised Oscar and Tang San was only because they were stronger than him. Without teacher's guidance, I wouldn't have been able to learn so quickly, Tang San said modestly. After chatting for a while, Lin Feng didn't beat around the bush and said directly, Xiao San, Mr. Destroy told me that you will be elected as the Alliance Leader of the Soul Master Alliance. Me? Alliance Leader? Tang San was confused. The Grand Master beside him was also confused. He didn't understand at all. The Grand Master knew a little about the Soul Master Alliance. The Marvel family was participating, and even the Clear Sky sect was going to appear. The Seven Treasures Glazed sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan were also going to appear. Basically, all the powerful forces in the Heaven Do Empire would join this alliance. In such a large force with many titled Doluo, it was possible for Thanos or Tang Xiao to be the alliance leader. However, Tang San was going to be the alliance leader? What a joke! The Grand Master didn't understand at all why Thanos would choose Tang San. Even if he chose Lin Feng, the Grand Master would feel that it was reasonable. Yes, it's you. Lin Feng smiled. Feng Gu, I'm not prepared at all. Furthermore, I'm only a soul sage. I'm so weak that I don't deserve this position. Mr. Destroy, Sect Master Ning, my uncle, or even you, Feng Gu, are all more suitable than me. Tang San quickly said. There was nothing wrong with what he said, but the Grand Master felt a little strange when he heard it. If a soul sage was weak, then how could a newbie like him, who had just become a soul ancestor, stand up? Xiao San, don't worry. Mr. Destroy must have his reasons for choosing you. You don't have to be too prepared. Mr. Destroy said that the Marvel family will assist you when the time comes. Also, the Alliance Leader of the Soul Master Alliance doesn't mean that you can directly control the entire alliance. It's more of a symbolic meaning. The main issues will be decided by a parliamentary voting system. Then, Lin Feng explained the situation of the Alliance Leader to the two of them. Feng Gu, but Tang San wanted to say something. Lin Feng interrupted him. No buts. This is Mr. Destroy's intention. And when the time comes to choose the Alliance Leader, there will be a vote. The chances of you becoming the Alliance Leader are not 100%. When the time comes, it will depend on the situation. Although that was what he said, Lin Feng was still confident. After all, the voting was basically controlled by him. However, Tang San didn't know about this. Hearing this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, you can continue to study. I won't disturb you. After saying that, Lin Feng left. He had basically been teleporting for half a day today, and had consumed a lot of his spirit, so he really needed to rest now. It was also thanks to the Million-Year Soul Ring that Lin Feng had the ability to teleport for so long. Otherwise, according to the previous situation, he wouldn't have been able to teleport at all. Now, after leaving the laboratory, Lin Feng quickly fell asleep. When he woke up, it was already the morning of the next day. The weather was very good today. The sun was shining brightly and it was a good day to go out for a walk. However, Lin Feng didn't have time to go for a walk. He directly found Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai and then entered a room alone. Feng Gu, why are you looking for us? Zhu Zhuqing tried to ask as calmly as possible. After what happened yesterday, Zhu Zhuqing was actually a little afraid to see Lin Feng. After all, her performance at that time was really terrible. After being found by Lin Feng today, and said that he wanted to talk, she panicked at that time, thinking that Lin Feng wanted to talk about yesterday's incident. But soon, Zhu Zhuqing knew that she was thinking too much, because Lin Feng also looked for Dai Mubai. Because she guessed wrong, Zhu Zhuqing was actually a little embarrassed, and her face turned red. At the same time, she didn't know why, but there was a trace of disappointment in her heart. It's nothing big. I mainly want to talk to you about the Star Luo Empire, Lin Feng said. Star Luo Empire? No problem. Right now, Take Chi and I still have a lot of weight in the Star Luo Empire. It can be said that there's nothing that we can't do. Dai Mubai patted his chest and said. To be honest, Dai Mubai's words were a little boastful. After all, the Star Luo Empire wasn't under Dai Mubai's control yet. At most, he could be considered a prince with some power. The Soul Master Alliance has two goals. The first is to unify the world of Soul Masters, Lin Feng said with a smile. After he finished speaking, Zhu Zhuqing understood Lin Feng's meaning. She said, Feng Gu, right now, most of the Soul Master organizations in the Star Luo Empire are attached to the Martial Soul Hall. A small number of organizations are attached to the Imperial family, and the rest are neutral organizations. Dai Mubai also said, the Imperial family and the neutral organizations aren't a problem. We can choose to join the Soul Master Alliance, but the Martial Soul Hall is a huge mountain that lies between the two empires. If we don't deal with the Martial Soul Hall, it'll be very difficult for the Soul Master Alliance to reach the Star Luo Empire. The Martial Soul Hall's geographical location was very good. It was right in the middle of the two empires. In addition, it had a deep foundation and there were Martial Soul Halls in every city on the continent. Under such circumstances, the information flow between the two empires could be said to be controlled by the Martial Soul Hall. Even though the Soul Master Alliance was the hottest topic in Heavendoe City right now, very few people outside of the city were aware of it. Even in the Heavendoe Empire, only Heavendoe City and a few nearby cities were discussing it. In the Star Luo Empire, not many people knew about it. Even Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing knew very little about it before coming to Heavendoe City. Under such circumstances, Dai Mubai said this. Lin Feng said with a smile, since we've decided to unify the world of Soul Masters, it's best if the Martial Soul Hall joins us. But if they choose to resist, then they can only be destroyed. According to Lin Feng's words, he directly regarded the Martial Spirit Palace as an enemy. Zhu Zhuqing said with a worried expression, Feng Gu, the Martial Soul Hall is too powerful. Its foundation is also very deep. Its branches are spread across the entire continent. It's too difficult for us to deal with it. It wasn't that Zhu Zhuqing was praising the Martial Soul Hall, but that the Martial Soul Hall was too powerful. According to Zhu Zhuqing's intelligence, the Soul Master Alliance shouldn't be a match for the Martial Soul Hall even if all of them were combined. However, Lin Feng didn't say much about this matter. He smiled and said, Don't worry, the Martial Soul Hall isn't a big problem. The main problem is the Soul Master Alliance's second goal, unifying the continent. What? Unifying the continent? Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai were both stunned. Unifying the world of Soul Masters was very difficult, but it was still a feasible goal. Furthermore, the two of them supported it. However, unifying the continent meant destroying the Heavendoe Empire and the Star Luo Empire. Perhaps they wouldn't be destroyed. In any case, they would have to submit to the Soul Master Alliance and unify the two empires. This would affect the fundamental interests of the two empires. At the same time, it would also affect the interests of Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai. Zhu Zhuqing's family would have a way out. However, Dai Mubai was the crown prince of the empire. If the Star Luo Empire submitted to the Soul Master Alliance or was destroyed, Dai Mubai's status would be abolished. Therefore, Dai Mubai was stunned after Lin Feng mentioned their goal. Zhu Zhuqing quickly said, Feng Gu, is the Soul Master Alliance really going to unify the continent? How long will it take? She didn't want to ask for information. Instead, she wanted to see how long the plan was and whether it could be discussed. Yes. Lin Feng smiled and said, in terms of time, it's within 5 years. Zhu Zhuqing. Dai Mubai. Chapter 444. Unifying the continent sounded like it would take a very long time. In Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai's minds, it would take at least 20 to 30 years. Furthermore, this was a lower estimate. After all, the Soul Master Alliance was just a new organization. It would probably take a few years for it to be unified. The subsequent unification would take even longer. If they guessed further, it would probably take more than 100 years. However, Lin Feng said that it would only take 5 years. It would be strange if they weren't shocked. unifying the world of Soul Masters in 3 years, and unifying the continent in 5 years. This is the goal of the Soul Master Alliance. Lin Feng smiled. This goal could be said to be very arrogant. However, Lin Feng was very confident. After all, he was very strong. In addition to the alliance of various organizations, there were also 8 hidden powerhouses. These hidden experts were all extremely strong. The weakest of them was at level 95, and there were many at level 97 and 96. There was even one at rank 98. These people were comparable to the consecrators of the Martial Soul Hall. This was why Lin Feng was very confident now. Feng Gu, are you serious? Zhu Zhuqing asked seriously. After interacting with each other for so long, Zhu Zhuqing knew that Lin Feng would basically fulfill whatever he said. He never bragged. However, this sentence about unifying the continent in 5 years was too shocking. This was why Zhu Zhuqing was a little doubtful. Of course. Lin Feng nodded and said, this is the goal. The Soul Master Alliance will work hard towards this goal. This goal was actually Lin Feng's alone. After all, the Soul Master Alliance hadn't been established yet. He hadn't said these things yet. Right now, the reason why he told Dai Mubai and Dai Mubai in advance was very simple. It was mainly to give the two of them a heads up. After all, Dai Mubai was the crown prince of the Star Luo Empire, and Zhu Zhuqing's family was also a powerful force there. If Lin Feng wanted to make a move on the Star Luo Empire in the future, they would be prepared. Feng Gu, are you going to destroy the 2 empires? Zhu Zhuqing quickly asked. At this moment, Lin Feng actually confirmed this matter once again. In Zhu Zhuqing's heart, it would definitely be achieved, so at this moment, she was a little nervous. Off to the side, Dai Mubai fell into deep thought. He was thinking about what he should do if Lin Feng really wanted to destroy the Star Luo Empire. However, after Zhu Zhuqing asked this crucial question, Dai Mubai immediately looked over. He was also very concerned about this. Our alliance is peace-loving. Mr. Destroy said that the main purpose of the Soul Master Alliance is to unify the continent and promote the development of the continent, not to start a war. So, when the time comes, if the 2 empires know what's good for them, it's best that they surrender. Otherwise, they will regret it. Although Lin Feng didn't say anything in detail, both of them were very clear that the alliance was determined to unify the continent. Dai Mubai frowned slightly, then asked, will the alliance attack the Martial Spirit Hall first? At first glance, this question seemed very ordinary, but in fact, it was very important and affected Dai Mubai's judgment. To him, Lin Feng was a great benefactor, the kind that he would even use his life to repay. On the other hand, the Star Luo Empire was also a fetter to him. In the past 3 years there had been a lot of people supporting him, which made him worry. At the same time, he had to be responsible for the people of the empire. If he was an individual, Dai Mubai could hand over the entire Star Luo Empire to Lin Feng. However, at present, Dai Mubai couldn't represent the entire empire. He wasn't qualified yet. Therefore, he had to know more so that he could make a rational decision. Of course, Lin Feng said, the Martial Spirit Hall is the Alliance's #1 target. It stands between the 2 empires, and its influence on the continent is too great. It must be eliminated. In fact, it wasn't appropriate to say that it was eliminated. After all, the Martial Spirit Hall was deeply rooted in the hearts of the people on the continent. No matter how strong Lin Feng was, it would be difficult to eliminate it in a short period of time. What he had to do was to replace it. What the Martial Spirit Hall had, the Soul Master Alliance had. And what the Martial Spirit Hall didn't have, the Soul Master Alliance had to have. After that, they would eliminate the higher-ups of the Martial Spirit Hall, and soon the Martial Spirit Hall would be taken over. Okay. Dai Mubai muttered. As long as the Soul Master Alliance destroys the Martial Spirit Hall, I will think of a way to make the Star Luo Empire submit. Dai Mubai was very smart. He didn't care whether Lin Feng was telling the truth or not. He only spoke with facts. If the Soul Master Alliance really destroyed the Martial Spirit Hall, they would be very powerful, and the Star Luo Empire wouldn't have to resist. On the other hand, if the Martial Spirit Hall couldn't be destroyed, the Star Luo Empire would naturally have nothing to worry about. After all, the Martial Spirit Hall was in the middle of the two empires. It was like a barrier that kept the Soul Master Alliance outside. When the real war broke out, Dai Mubai didn't have to be wary of the Soul Master Alliance, but the Martial Spirit Hall. This was because they were worried that the Martial Spirit Hall would use the people of their empire as cannon fodder. Submit directly? Zhu Zhuqing was stunned. She was very clear about the situation of the Star Luo Empire. It was very strong, and its army was much stronger than the Heaven Do empires. If it weren't for the Martial Spirit Hall, the entire continent would have been unified by the Star Luo Empire. Under such circumstances, it was a little unexpected for Zhu Zhuqing to submit directly. Yes. Dai Mubai smiled and said, I believe in Lin Feng's character. Mr. Destroy is also a good person. I believe that the Soul Master Alliance that they lead will be a good force. As long as they have the strength to destroy the Martial Spirit Hall, what's wrong with our empire submitting to them? I believe that the Soul Master Alliance will lead the continent to prosperity. Dai Mubai wasn't just shooting off his mouth. He had a basis for it. In the past few years at the Shrek Academy, he had seen Lin Feng's character and his strange ideas. This made Dai Mubai feel very curious. He could sense that Lin Feng's words and actions were correct. Furthermore, the soul skills and methods that he taught were all incomparably powerful and had epic-making significance. In addition to their relationship with Shrek's 7 monsters, submitting to the Star Luo Empire was the best choice. Very good. Lin Feng smiled and said, a very wise choice. Originally, Lin Feng only wanted to give the two of them a heads-up. He didn't expect Dai Mubai to be so smart and give such a promise. You. Just as he was about to say something, Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. He hurriedly said, I have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. You can go out and eat. After speaking, Lin Feng quickly left and walked out of Heaven Do City. Just now, Lin Feng had used his tracking device to sense that there were hidden powerhouses coming. They were about 25 kilometers away, so he disguised himself as Thanos to welcome them. The main thing was that these people were very strong. If he didn't welcome them and just left them in Heaven Do City, it could cause some trouble. Therefore, Lin Feng personally came to welcome them. Soon, Lin Feng was 5 kilometers away from the city. He released faint soul power undulations towards them. This was a kind of guidance. He was guiding them to come to him. At the same time, Lin Feng waved his hand and used the 1000 trickery ruler to form a dazzling golden hall in the empty space to the side. Lin Feng was prepared to receive these hidden powerhouses. He wanted them to stay here and not disturb Ning Fengji and the others. After about a minute, a white-bearded old Taoist appeared in front of Lin Feng. Greetings, Elder Mia. The old man cupped his hands towards Thanos and smiled. After Lin Feng's persuasion, these people were now considered to have joined the Soul Master Alliance and enjoyed the treatment of elders. This old man was called Hong Yifeng. His title was Golden Hoop, and his martial soul was also Golden Hoop. He was a rank 98 control-type Dolu. Golden Hoop Doluo was the strongest of the 8. When Lin Feng didn't have a million-year soul ring, he was evenly matched with him. After breaking through, he was able to beat him into submission. Elder Golden Hoop is too polite. Thanos smiled and extended his hand towards the palace beside him. Elder, please rest inside. The first General Assembly of the Soul Master Alliance will be held the day after tomorrow. Please wait here. Hearing this, Golden Hoop Dolua didn't say anything. He smiled and walked into the palace. The reason why Golden Hoop came early was to find out some information about the Soul Master Alliance and meet Ningfengji. However, it seemed like Thanos didn't want them to run around. Golden Hoop was a little upset about this, but he didn't resist. This was because he knew that it was useless to resist. Instead, Thanos might find an excuse to spar with him. If it was before, Golden Hoop would have welcomed Thanos's spar. This was because their abilities were on par, and it could strengthen him to a certain extent. However, now that Thanos's abilities had increased greatly, he would be beaten up one-sidedly. Hence, Golden Hoop didn't have any thoughts of resisting. Lin Feng was very satisfied with Golden Hoop's tactfulness. In the following period of time, Lin Feng's original body remained here. As for his avatar, he returned to the Shrek Academy to discuss with Ningfengji. The General Assembly was about to begin. They needed to cooperate with each other in terms of preparation work. At the same time, Tang Xiao led the 5 elders and all the core disciples from the Clear Sky sect's hiding place and rushed towards Heaven Do City. During this period of time, they'd already found a suitable mountain 50 kilometers south of Heaven Do City, and they'd even remodeled it. Today was the day that the Clear Sky sect would move. At the same time, they wanted to announce to the entire continent that the Clear Sky sect would reappear. At this moment, all the disciples of the Clear Sky sect had heavy hearts. They knew that this wasn't the best time for them to reappear. This was because they would have to face the Martial Soul Hall once they reappeared. More importantly, they didn't know if there would be a better opportunity in the future. The Soul Master Alliance's target was the Martial Soul Hall. If they missed this opportunity, the Clear Sky sect might not be able to wait for a second faction that was willing to eradicate the Martial Soul Hall. As they thought about this, the Clear Sky sect quickly arrived in Heaven Do City. At the same time, they rushed towards the mountain in the south. Lin Feng could sense all this. He knew that the Clear Sky sect was relocating. However, he didn't join in the fun. There was no need for him to do so. About an hour later, Tang Xiao and the others arrived at the mountain peak. After that, they quickly started to decorate the mountain gate. At the same time, Tang Xiao arrived in the sky above Heaven Do City. He circulated his soul power and shouted towards the city, "From today onwards, the Clear Sky sect will reappear. The Clear Sky sect will reappear." It was a simple sentence. He didn't say anything else. He didn't even mention the address. Even so, everyone started to discuss it fervently. What a joke. This was the Clear Sky sect, the top of the 7 great sects. Even though it had been hidden from the world for so many years, many people still knew about it. Now that it had reappeared, everyone was looking at it. This was especially so in the Tang sect. The members of the race of strength all had complicated expressions on their faces. Tai Tan also sighed. "It's too slow. It's too slow." His sigh was filled with sorrow. No one knew if he was sighing because the race of strength had joined the Tang sect, or because the other 3 races had been suppressed. Back then, if the Clear Sky sect hadn't retreated, or if they had given them some buffer time before retreating, the situation might have been completely different. However, it was a pity that there were no ifs. Sigh, let bygones be bygones. Tai Tan sighed again. At least he had made a clean break with the past. In the Shrek Academy, in the headquarters of the Soul Master Alliance, Ningfengji and the others were also slightly stunned. He knew that the Clear Sky sect would reappear. However, he thought that they would announce it after the Soul Master Alliance. He didn't expect them to be so high-profile. In the center of the forest not far away, Tang San, who was doing research with the Grandmaster, suddenly froze. "The Clear Sky sect has reappeared," Tang San muttered. Although Lin Feng had said that the Clear Sky sect wasn't very close to him, Tang San couldn't really ignore it as he was the owner of the Clear Sky Hammer. Hence, he was still a little emotional when he heard this. The Grandmaster beside him laughed and said, "The Clear Sky sect has reappeared. The Marvel family is also doing things in a high-profile manner. Now, the Soul Master Alliance is about to be established. The world of Soul Masters is about to change. The world of Soul Masters on the Doloa continent had been peaceful for almost 20 years. It was like a pool of stagnant water. It lacked vitality. Right now, the Soul Master Alliance was like a huge rock that had been smashed into the water. As for how big of a splash it would cause, that would depend on the Soul Master Alliance's follow-up plans. However, from the fact that Lin Feng wanted to promote Soul Tool technology, the Grandmaster could tell that the splash wouldn't be small. It's good that the world of Soul Masters has changed. The world of Soul Masters is still too repressive. Tang San nodded. In fact, Tang San was quite satisfied with the world of Soul Masters before this. However, after Lin Feng said something to him, he completely changed his opinion. This was because Lin Feng said that the world of Soul Masters was too sick. The difference in the number of Soul Masters between aristocratic families and commoner Soul Masters was too big. It wasn't just in terms of numbers. It was also the same in terms of strength. Furthermore, the Academy's teaching was too cumbersome and boring. It was a waste of time. Lastly, in terms of advancement, there was no other way for Soul Masters to develop well apart from the Martial Soul Hall, the Royal Family, and Soul Master clans. These things should be properly modified. P.S. Happy New Year, everyone. Chapter 445. Tang Zhao's shout was so loud that not only did everyone in Heaven-Do City hear it, but everyone within a radius of 30 to 40 kilometers heard it as well. Countless people were talking about it, but Lin Feng didn't care too much. He already knew about this. He was more concerned about the hidden powerhouses. As the time for the meeting approached, the hidden powerhouses arrived one after another. In order to make sure nothing went wrong, Lin Feng stayed in the hall formed by the Thousand Trickster ruler. When he sensed them approaching, Lin Feng would release his soul power to guide them over. Just like that, 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. A total of 13 hidden powerhouses, 8 titled Doloa and 5 soul Doloa, were all present. Lin Feng didn't let them enter the city. Instead, he waited for the meeting to begin the next day. If it were anyone else, even Bibi Dong, the Martial Soul Hall's Pope, wouldn't have been able to subdue them. After all, these 13 hidden powerhouses were too strong. It was only because Lin Feng had subdued them that they became obedient. Otherwise, no one would be able to subdue them. Everyone, tomorrow is the day that the Soul Master Alliance is established. At the same time, it's also the day that the elders and deacons will return to their positions. I hope everyone can eat and drink well today as we wait for tomorrow. With that, Lin Feng set up a banquet in the hall and drank with everyone. Lin Feng's main goal for today's banquet was to meet these people in advance and inform them of what he was going to do tomorrow. This wasn't a difficult thing to do. After all the hidden powerhouses who were willing to come acknowledged the Soul Master Alliance. Perhaps it was because they were convinced by Thanos' strength, or perhaps it was because they were looking forward to the future of the Alliance. In any case, these people had all submitted to Lin Feng. Under such circumstances, the atmosphere at the banquet was very harmonious. Everyone toasted each other and discussed the bright future of the Soul Master Alliance. At the same time, Bibi Dong led the elites of the Martial Soul Hall to a mountain 15 kilometers north of Heaven-Do City. This was a secret base of the Martial Soul Hall. Yu Guan and Gui Mei had just set it up, and no one knew about it before. Therefore, at this time, Bibi Dong brought people here. It was very safe and no one else knew. The base wasn't big. It only had a living room, a few study rooms, bedrooms, and so on. Its main purpose was to let people rest for a few days. Right now, everyone in the Martial Spirit Palace was waiting in the living room, while in the study room at the side, Bibi Dong was receiving Gui Mei. Your Majesty, this is the list of high-ranked soul masters that have been in and out of Heaven-Do City, Gui Mei said as he handed over a list of names. Tomorrow was the day of the Soul Master Alliance's meeting. Over the past few days, many Soul Masters had rushed to Heaven-Do City from outside. Some of them were here to watch the show, while others were the leaders of the various forces. They were here for a meeting. Yu Guan and Gui Mei, these two people, specifically recorded these people, and then handed it over to Bibi Dong. The Supreme Sky Sect has reappeared. Have you found out where they are? Bibi Dong asked as he took the name list. Not yet. Gui Mei shook his head. That Tang Xiao is extremely powerful. I didn't dare to rashly follow him, so I didn't know. If he wanted to chase after Tang Xiao, Gui Mei could still catch up. However, that would expose himself. Tang Xiao was very strong, and Gui Mei was afraid of being killed, so he didn't dare to expose himself. Okay. Bibi Dong nodded slightly and didn't say anything else. Instead, he looked at the name list in his hand. Gui Mei couldn't figure out what Bibi Dong was thinking, so he waited quietly and didn't say anything. At this moment, Bibi Dong frowned slightly and said, "Are these people all here to participate in the meeting?" There were many people on the name list, about 300 of them. Among them, more than 80 were Doluo and the rest were Soul Sages. As for those below Soul Sage, they were too weak, so Gui Mei and the others didn't record them. Among these people, Bibi Dong saw the leaders of the forces that were subordinate to the Martial Spirit Palace. This made his expression turn a little ugly. No. Gui Mei said, some of them are here to watch the show. News of the Soul Master Alliance was relatively hidden for the first 2 months. In the following month, it slowly spread among the Soul Master forces in the Heaven-Do Empire. However, this news was still very important, and only Soul Sages spread it. Therefore, those who came to Heaven-Do City to watch the show were mostly Soul Sages and above. I see. Bibi Dong's brows relaxed a little. She originally thought that the people on the name list were all here to join the Soul Master Alliance. Now, it seemed like they were just here to watch the show. However, Bibi Dong soon thought of something. If the Soul Master Alliance treated them well, or if they were strong, these people who came to watch the show might become fence-sitters. As she thought about it, Bibi Dong quickly categorized the names on the name list, and marked out those who might be fence-sitters. After that, Bibi Dong handed these people to Gui Mei and said, "Go and find these people today. Let them make the right choice tomorrow." Yes. Gui Mei nodded and left with the name list. Yu Guan and Gui Mei were the 2 elders who had joined Bibi Dong a long time ago. They were highly regarded by Bibi Dong. Both of them knew about the people who were going to assassinate them this time. Furthermore, they understood Bibi Dong very well. Gui Mei knew what to do the moment she opened her mouth. It was very simple. Secretly find these people, and make them cause trouble at the Shrek Academy tomorrow, and then listen to orders. In any case, Gui Mei would reveal some information about the Martial Soul Hall coming to cause trouble. After all, the Martial Soul Hall would be suspicious if they didn't do anything for such a big event like the Soul Master Alliance. It was very normal for them to send people to cause trouble. At the same time, no one would have thought that Bibi Dong would bring the elites of the Martial Soul Hall. When the time came, they would be caught off guard, and the sneak attack would be considered a success. As for whether these people would listen to orders, Gui Mei could easily solve it. Threaten, use their forces and families to threaten them. Under such circumstances, although the reputation of the Martial Soul Hall would be damaged, it was no longer important. Bibi Dong's idea was to destroy all the Soul Masters in the Soul Master Alliance. When that time came, the Martial Soul Hall would be the dominant force, and no other force would be able to stop them. When that time came, wouldn't they have the final say in terms of reputation? Just like that, Gui Mei began to appear and disappear unpredictably in Heaven-Do City. He found the people on the list one by one and talked to them. In the secret base of the Martial Soul Hall, Bibi Dong had everyone start to recover their soul power so that they would be in their best condition for tomorrow's battle. Of course, they weren't just recovering here and doing nothing. Bibi Dong activated the spies in Heavendo City and had them spread the news in the city to ensure that the sneak attack would be carried out smoothly. At the same time, in the Shrek Academy, because the first meeting was going to be held tomorrow, there were already people registering for the meeting at the entrance of the academy today. Inside the academy, the Alliance headquarters had been meticulously decorated, and the hall had been remodeled. It was completely suitable for tomorrow's meeting. Of course, the meeting in the hall would only be held at the end, and only important people could participate. At the beginning, the meeting would be held in the plaza in front of the Alliance headquarters. For this meeting, the Alliance had set up a venue here 3 days in advance, and it was now in the final stage. Not far away, Lin Feng was telling Tang San what to do tomorrow, and telling him to relax and so on. At this moment, Ning Fengji walked over and cupped his hands. Deacon Lin Feng, may I know where Lord Thanos is? The Alliance conference was going to be held tomorrow, and there were many leaders of the nearby factions, so it was considered a formal occasion, and Ning Fengji's words were very formal. Mr. Destroy told me that he went out to do something, and will be back tomorrow morning, Lin Feng said. I see. Ning Fengji nodded. It's fine as long as it doesn't delay tomorrow's meeting. The person who was most concerned about the Soul Master Alliance wasn't Lin Feng, but Ning Fengji. In the past 3 months, he treated the Soul Master Alliance as the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's biggest backup plan, so he was very concerned about it. Don't worry, Sect Master Ning, it won't be delayed. Lin Feng smiled. If not for the fact that he was worried that Doluo and the others would cause trouble, Lin Feng wouldn't have to go through so much trouble to send his avatar to suppress them. Ning Fengji smiled and said, I've been busy before, so I didn't have time to thank you about Rongrong's soul ring. Ning Fengji paused for a moment, then took out a box from his soul tool and handed it to Lin Feng. This is? Lin Feng was stunned. Take it, this is a gift from the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. Ning Fengji smiled. He didn't say what was inside, and only asked Lin Feng to accept it. Lin Feng didn't refuse, and directly accepted it, then opened it on the spot. Feng Go, it's a right leg bone. Tang San was a little surprised. Looking at the soul power undulations, it's probably more than 50,000 years old. After following Lin Feng for a long time and seeing the world, Tang San's horizons had become much higher. Ordinary 10,000-year soul bones were nothing in his eyes. However, this soul bone was at least 50,000 years old, which made him a little apprehensive. Good eye. Ning Fengji smiled. This is a soul bone obtained from the crescent moon Luo, and that crescent moon Luo is about 55,000 years old. This soul bone is very suitable for flower-type martial souls. The crescent moon Luo was a very special plant-type soul beast. It looked like a crescent moon and only appeared at night. Its attack was very strong, and it could release a powerful crescent impact blade. It was very rare to encounter such a soul beast, and Dusty Heart was lucky enough to encounter it and kill it. Because of the uniqueness of this soul bone, Ning Fengji didn't have a suitable person to absorb it, so he kept it in his hands to exchange it in the future or as a favor. Now, Ning Fengji was giving this soul bone away. This couldn't be considered a favor, and in fact, Ning Fengji was taking advantage of it. After all, Lin Feng's help to Ning Rongrong was not something that a 50,000-year soul ring could compare to. Thank you, Sect Master Ning. Lin Feng didn't refuse and kept it in his soul tool space. He couldn't use this soul bone himself, but it was fine to give it to Xiao Wu, Xiao Ying, or Erming. That's what I should do. Ning Fengji nodded. After giving away the soul bone, Ning Fengji didn't stay any longer. He still had things to do, so he quickly left. Lin Feng didn't pay much attention to this small episode and continued to talk to Tang San. Tang San was very impressed by this. This was a 50,000-year soul bone, and its effects couldn't be compared to an ordinary 10,000-year soul bone. They were still young, and if they absorbed it and grew up in the future, its effects wouldn't be inferior to 100,000-year soul bone. However, Lin Feng didn't care at all, and this made Tang San feel a little speechless. Under Lin Feng's lead, Tang San's fluctuating heart quickly calmed down. A day's time passed very quickly. In the morning, the people who came to register were mainly small and medium-sized clans and sections. Their leaders were usually soul sages, and they might even bring 1 or 2 soul emperors or soul kings, so there were many of them. In the afternoon, the people from the large factions and sects came. The people who came were all at the level of soul doloa. These people were different from the people from the small factions. They usually didn't bring people over. Even if they did, they would bring juniors who weren't very strong. They were here to see the world. Of course, these people were only the people who were coming to the plaza for the meeting tomorrow. As for whether there were people from these factions waiting in the city, they didn't know. The large factions included the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. In the afternoon, Yu Yuanzhen and Tang Xiao came. Both of them were titled Doloa and they were very powerful. Ning Fengji personally received them. During this time, they also met Lin Feng and Tang San. The two sides conversed for a while. Tang Xiao was fine, but Yu Yuanzhen was trying to sound out the situation in the Soul Master Alliance. After all, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan joined the Soul Master Alliance because the Clear Sky Sect was about to appear, and the Marvel family was also joining. These 3 reasons made Yu Yuanzhen decide to join the Soul Master Alliance. It was normal for him to test the Soul Master Alliance. After all, he had to know the specific situation of the Soul Master Alliance first. It was mainly about the Clear Sky Sect and the Marvel family's intentions. Only by understanding these 2 points could the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan make the best choice. Tang Xiao was very straightforward about this. He said that he would follow the Marvel family. This not only shocked Yu Yuanzhen, but also Ning Fengji. The Clear Sky Sect was once the #1 sect in the world. Even if they hid for 20 years and then reappeared, they would still be stronger than the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect. After all, Tang Hao wasn't dead. Under such circumstances, the Clear Sky Sect actually said that they would follow the Marvel family. This was really surprising. Yu Yuanzhen and Ning Fengji wanted to know more about this, but Tang Xiao deliberately avoided the topic. Tang Xiao didn't say much about the location of the Clear Sky Sect. He only told them that they would talk about it during the meeting tomorrow. Just like that, Lin Feng said something at the right time and changed the topic. After that, they walked around for a while and then dispersed, waiting for the meeting tomorrow. Chapter 446. The next morning, aside from the fact that Heaven Do City was a little more lively than usual, everything else was normal and uneventful. After all, the number of Soul Masters was still too small compared to ordinary people. Even the establishment of the Soul Master Alliance didn't have much of an impact on the ordinary citizens of Heaven Do City. However, everything was still very lively at the Shrek Academy. There were people at the entrance to receive them. The road leading to the Alliance's headquarters was also decorated with lanterns and streamers. The atmosphere was joyous, and made people feel like they were returning home. At the entrance, people were walking towards the Shrek Academy. They were all here to participate in the Soul Master Alliance's conference. Apart from these people, the entrance was also filled with Soul Masters who came to watch the fun. Have you heard? The Martial Soul Alliance is established again. It's even grander than before. It seems like the Marvel family and the Clear Sky Sect have joined. It's not the Martial Soul Alliance. It's the Soul Master Alliance. I heard that an alliance leader will be chosen today to lead the entire alliance. So that's how it is. However, I see that there are already 60 to 70 organizations that have entered the academy. They are all Soul Dolua and Soul Sages. If such a large organization is really unified, how strong will it be? Just as the crowd was discussing, there was a commotion not far away. Everyone looked over and realized that the Crown Prince, Schwechinga, was escorted to the entrance of the Shrek Academy by a group of people. Crown Prince Schwechinga. He represents the Heaven Do Empire to congratulate the establishment of the Soul Master Alliance. At this moment, a Soul Master beside Schwechinga shouted. After he finished speaking, the staff at the entrance immediately welcomed him in. Of course, there was another round of heated discussion among the surrounding crowd. The Crown Prince had also participated in the establishment of the Martial Soul Alliance. However, he was only Ning Fengji's disciple back then, and had participated in his own name. This time, Schwechinga represented the Heaven Do Empire to congratulate them. What did this mean? It meant that the Empire also supported the Soul Master Alliance. One had to know that large organizations like the Soul Master Alliance were not allowed to exist in order to maintain the stability of the Empire. The Martial Soul Hall was an exception. Due to historical reasons, they had always existed. Even so, there had always been friction between the Heaven Do Empire and the Martial Spirit Hall. There would be a battle between the two eventually. It was also because of this that everyone was shocked by the Sky Do Empire's reaction. The Crown Prince is actually here to congratulate us on behalf of the Empire. Could it be that the Empire is behind the Soul Master Alliance? Someone guessed. Someone else chimed in. That should be the reason. Otherwise, the Soul Master Alliance is too big of a threat to the Heaven Do Empire. There's no way they'd let it go. When the Martial Soul Alliance was first established, the Snowy Night Emperor sent a 10,000-man Soul Master Legion over to watch over it. He didn't come this time, so he must have known about it. Just as everyone was discussing among themselves, they discovered that the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan had also arrived. Then, the people of the Clear Sky sect also appeared and walked towards the gate. All of a sudden, the speed at which the various great powers entered the academy sped up. It seemed that the Soul Master Alliance was about to be established. And in the crowd, Gui Mei watched all of this with cold eyes. This was because there were many experts in the academy at the moment. There were also top experts like Thanos and Tang Xiao. Therefore, Ghost Charm did not dare to enter to investigate. He could only watch the situation from the entrance. At the same time, Bibi Dong had already snuck into Heaven Do City with the elites of the Martial Soul Hall. They were slowly making their way toward Shrek Academy, waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Bibi Dong was also a very calm person. Up until now, she still hadn't revealed her objective for coming to Heaven Do City. Perhaps everyone could guess a little, but they couldn't be sure of what Bibi Dong was going to do until she said it. Just like that, the group drew closer and closer to Shrek Academy. On the other side, Thanos had also begun to lead the Golden Hoop, Doluo, and the others toward Heaven Do City in a leisurely manner. Shrek Academy. Due to the establishment of the Soul Master Alliance today, the Academy was on holiday, and all of the students had gone home. Several hundred Soul Masters walked along the main road of the Academy. They passed by the teaching buildings and walked for a short distance before arriving in front of a large plaza. The plaza had been renovated, and was divided into 3 sections. At the very front was a huge semicircular table. There were several hundred seats beside it, and these seats were specially set aside for soul sages. In the direction of these seats, there were 2 rows of large mahogany chairs. They leaned against the sides of the plaza and were placed facing each other. These chairs were specially set aside for Soul Doluo, and there were a total of 100 of them. In front of each chair was a small table with fruits, tea, and other things on it. Further back, there was a high platform with several rows of seats. The first row had the most seats, followed by the second row, and the last row only had a huge golden-laid chair. Only the Alliance Master of the Soul Master Alliance could sit on it. Only after a selection would someone sit on it. Behind this tall platform was the Alliance headquarters. It was a huge building complex. In the center was the Alliance Hall, and around it were several supporting buildings, such as the Alliance Laboratory, the Alliance Library, and so on. These supporting buildings weren't there in the past. Only the Alliance Hall was remodeled from the previous headquarters. The rest were newly built in the past 3 months. Actually, Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry to repair these buildings. However, Ning Fengji was an impatient person. He was also very responsible, so he repaired them in advance. At this moment, under the arrangements of the staff, the various powerful individuals and leaders of the various organizations took their seat. Soon, more than half of the seats were taken. And this way of sitting was very particular. The more powerful soul sages were seated near the center of the semicircular table, while the weaker soul sages were seated at the edges. It was the same for Soul Dolua. The stronger ones sat at the front, while the weaker ones sat at the back. Of course, there were a few special seats in front of Soul Dolua. The people sitting there had very special identities. Flanders, Grandmaster, Lu Erlong, Shueqinghe, and the others sat there. In fact, there were many small organizations that wanted to join the Soul Master Alliance today. However, they were too weak. They didn't even have a soul sage in their organizations. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't arrange seats for them. He only asked them to stand at the back. At this moment, as more and more people sat down, the plaza gradually became noisy. As the inviter, Ning Fengji chatted with everyone in the plaza with a smile on his face. Dusty Heart stood beside him to protect his safety. Lin Feng was in the Alliance Hall, confirming the final situation with Tang San. Suddenly, Ning Rongrong ran in and shouted, "Feng Ge, my father asked you, why isn't Mr. Destroy here yet? Almost everyone outside is here. It's time for the meeting." Hearing this, Lin Feng turned around and smiled. "Rongrong, tell your father that I'll preside over the meeting later. Mr. Destroy will be here soon." Oh. Ning Rongrong nodded and turned around to pass on the message. In the Alliance Hall, Lin Feng didn't delay. After sensing for a while, he said to Tang San, "Let's go. It's time for the meeting." With that, he brought Tang San to the plaza. "Everyone, quiet!" Ning Fengji shouted. This shout, with the support of soul power, easily spread throughout the entire plaza. Everyone heard it. For a moment, everyone quieted down and focused their eyes on Ning Fengji. The latter smiled and said, "I announce that the first Soul Master Assembly of the Soul Master Alliance begins now. Next, let's welcome the host of the assembly, Deacon Lin Feng of the Marvel family." With that, Ning Fengji stretched out his palm in the direction of Lin Feng. Everyone looked in the direction and saw Lin Feng's young face. Although he was young, no one dared to underestimate him. After all, he was a member of the Marvel family. The name of this family was well known in the world of Soul Masters. After all, it was a force that fought all over the continent. Such a magnificent feat, not to mention that no one would be able to do it in the future, at the very least, it was unprecedented. Members of the Soul Master Alliance, good morning. I am Deacon Lin Feng of the Marvel family. Being stared at by hundreds and thousands of people, Lin Feng was not afraid at all. He smiled and said, "Welcome, everyone." After hearing this loud and clear voice, everyone's expressions were different as they quietly watched. You don't even know how to applaud. You don't even know how to applaud. Lin Feng continued, "Since everyone is here, I'm sure you all have some understanding of the Soul Master Alliance. But today, I want to reiterate that the original intention of our Soul Master Alliance is very simple. That is to unify the world of Soul Masters and let the entire world of Soul Masters improve so that all Soul Masters can benefit." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone started discussing. Lin Feng did not give anyone time to speak and said directly, "I know that all of you are thinking that this goal is too far away and has nothing to do with you." Hearing this, everyone was stunned in their hearts. This was because their thoughts were exactly the same as what Lin Feng had said. Things like improving in the world of soul masters were too far away. They had only one goal in mind when they joined the Soul Master Alliance, and that was to become stronger and ensure their safety. Becoming stronger was the most basic thing. After all, as a Soul Master, everyone wanted to become stronger. As for ensuring their safety, it was very simple. It was to protect them from being attacked by the Martial Soul Hall. When Ningfengji told them to join the Soul Master Alliance, he said that the most important thing was to join forces to resist the Martial Soul Hall. This was the most basic point. Therefore, they were not interested in the principles that Lin Feng was talking about. They only wanted to hear one thing, and that was how to deal with the Martial Soul Hall. Just as everyone was thinking about this, Lin Feng continued, "However, your thinking is wrong. It's ridiculously wrong. Perhaps you are thinking about how to deal with the Martial Soul Hall now, but I want to say that the Martial Soul Hall is nothing to the Soul Master Alliance. They have never been our main goal. Our alliance only has one main goal, and that is to promote the development of the world of Soul Masters on the continent and even affect ordinary people. In the Soul Master Alliance, we have brand new Soul Tool technology. The Wings of the Sky that the Tang sect is selling is the result of this new Soul Tool technology. There's also a Soul Tool that can increase a Soul Master's cultivation speed by 5%. In terms of soul power research, the Soul Master Alliance has mastered a method that can allow people to cultivate all the time. At the same time, we also have mastered a method to cultivate spiritual power. All of these can be exchanged for with contribution points by members of the Alliance. The way to obtain contribution points is very simple. You can donate resources, soul stones, spiritual herbs, soul bones, and so on to the Alliance. As long as you contribute to the Alliance, you can obtain contribution points. Lin Feng was prepared to make contribution points into a currency within the Alliance. As time passed, the credibility of contribution points would increase. Lin Feng only needed to control the distribution of contribution points, and it would be equivalent to controlling the entire Soul Master Alliance. After all transactions within the Alliance required contribution points. Lin Feng's contribution points were unlimited, and he could make the entire Alliance work for him. Of course, the prerequisite for this was that the Soul Master Alliance had to be run well and establish credibility. Otherwise, contribution points would be useless. After Lin Feng finished speaking, everyone in the plaza, including Ningfengji, Tang San, and the rest, were stunned. This was because Lin Feng had never mentioned contribution points to them before. Lin Feng had also never told them that they could let others learn how to control soul power and cultivate spiritual power. This was the first time he had mentioned it. Everyone present was at least a soul sage, and they knew how terrifying these things were. A soul tool that could increase one's cultivation speed by 5% was actually not too bad. This was because many soul masters could achieve the same, or even better, effect through their surroundings. The main thing was that one had to cultivate all the time, and one had to cultivate spiritual power. The former could greatly increase a soul master's cultivation speed. After all, one had to cultivate all the time. This method was too terrifying, and no soul master could do it now. If one could learn it, one's cultivation speed would increase by at least half. The latter's spiritual power cultivation method would greatly increase a soul master's fighting strength if there was no requirement to learn soul power. Why were soul masters at least a soul sage strong? Martial soul true bodies and soul rings were the main reasons. However, the second reason was the strength of one's spiritual power. The stronger a soul master's spiritual power was, the better his control over his soul power and soul skills would be, and the stronger he would be. If one's spiritual power was weak, it would greatly affect one's strength. Soul power recovery would be slower, soul skills would be weaker, soul power consumption would be greater, and so on. In short, there were many disadvantages, and one's strength would be weaker. If one learned the spiritual power cultivation method, these weaknesses would no longer be weaknesses. Everyone knew very well that any one of these items would be a supreme treasure if they were to be revealed. Right now, the Soul Master Alliance was sharing them, and the price was only contribution points. Suddenly, everyone was very excited and wanted to earn contribution points immediately. Chapter 447. If I can learn that spiritual power cultivation method, I might be able to break through my rank 89 bottleneck and become a titled Dolu. If I can learn that soul power cultivation method, I'll take 5 years less to become a soul Dolu. Is this all real? Does such a magical cultivation method really exist? It feels a little fake. How many contribution points does it cost to exchange for a spiritual power cultivation method? And how many things can be donated? Give me a number, I'll exchange for it immediately. The plaza was as noisy as a wet market. There were exclamations, suspicions, expectations, and so on. All sorts of things came out from everyone's mouth. Their expressions were very interesting. After all, this information was too shocking. It was normal for them to have such a reaction. Like everyone else, Ning Fengji, Tang San, and the others were also shocked. This was the first time they had heard of contribution points. Contribution points sounds good. Ning Fengji raised his eyebrows and laughed. Qin Xian, who was standing to the side, also nodded and said, he even brought out the spiritual power cultivation method. How surprising! A long time ago, when Lin Feng talked about soul power control, Grandmaster said that it was something that could change the entire world of soul masters. From this, one could see how important this cultivation method was. It was a priceless treasure. Now that he said that alliance members could use contribution points to obtain it, it was really shocking. At this moment, Lin Feng shouted, "Everyone, quiet down." His voice wasn't loud, but it contained a trace of soul power. Everyone in the plaza heard it. Very soon, everyone quieted down. After that, Lin Feng said, "We can talk about contribution points in the future. The most important thing now is the establishment of the Soul Master Alliance." The contribution system wasn't something that Lin Feng said on a whim. It was something that he had designed after careful consideration. Lin Feng had a detailed plan for the Soul Tool. He would pass it to Ning Fengji later so that he could be in charge of it. Now, it was time to set up the various positions in the alliance. With that thought in mind, Lin Feng continued, "The Soul Master Alliance is only an alliance of soul masters within the Heaven Do Empire. However, one day, this alliance will unify the world of soul masters. There are 72 deacons in the alliance. You can apply if you're a soul sage. 36 hall masters, and those at the level of soul Doloa can apply. Above that are elders. There is no limit to the number of elders, but only titled battle pet warriors and above can serve as elders. Above the elders is the committee, which is made up of the leaders of the Marvel family, the Tang sect, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, and the Clear Sky sect. Finally, there's the Alliance Leader of the Soul Master Alliance. The position of Alliance Leader is decided through election. The committee members and the various elders all have the right to run for the position. Today, the Soul Master Alliance's first General Assembly is to choose the Alliance Leader, and at the same time, to confirm all the positions. After hearing this, everyone in the square became excited. They were all wondering who this Alliance Master was, who would be the Hall Master, Deacon, Elder, and so on. Some people were also wondering what kind of power the Tang sect was. They didn't seem to have heard of it before. How could they be a member of the committee? While everyone was thinking, Lin Feng continued, "In the Soul Master Alliance, all the positions will be rewarded with contribution points every month. The higher the position, the more contribution points you'll get. However, Deacon and Hall Master positions aren't positions that you can take up just because you're strong enough. That's because there's a limit to the number of positions, so you'll have to compete for them. In the world of soul masters, strength is everything. Therefore, deacon and hall master positions will only be given to soul masters with powerful soul power. Of course, these positions aren't fixed. At the beginning of every month, soul masters in the Alliance can challenge these deacons, hall masters, and so on. As long as you can defeat your opponent, you can replace them. Titled battle pet warriors and elders like Dolua also have to undergo a combat test every month. Elder Thanos will personally preside over this test, and then a ranking will be determined. The higher you're ranked, the more contribution points you'll be rewarded. Vice versa, you'll only get a basic reward. Lin Feng's contribution point plan included many aspects. Everything he said could be easily realized and was very detailed. After he finished speaking, everyone's eyes became even more fervent. They were full of anticipation for the future of the Soul Master Alliance. At this moment Lin Feng shouted, "Next, we'll be selecting deacons. All soul sages above rank 75, including rank 75 soul sages, please stand up." Suddenly, more than 100 soul sages stood up around the semicircular table. There were 72 more soul sages. Lin Feng continued, "Rank 75 soul sages, please sit down." 20 or so soul sages quickly sat down when they heard this. There were still 90 or so soul masters standing in the arena. Lin Feng continued, "Rank 76 soul sages, please sit down." After 2 rounds of selection, Lin Feng counted those who were still standing. Coincidentally, there were 72 of them. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Very good, there are 72 people left. All of you are the current deacons of the Soul Master Alliance. Congratulations!" After hearing this, the 72 people immediately revealed joyful smiles. At the same time, the staff members of the Alliance quickly walked over to register these 72 Soul Masters. After this, Lin Feng shouted, "Next, we'll be selecting the Hall Master. Rank 85 and above, including rank 85 Soul Dolua, please stand up." There weren't many powerful Soul Masters on the continent at Soul Dolua's level. They had noble statuses, and were usually treated as VIPs wherever they went. Not to mention ordering them around, even speaking to them would be treated with great respect. However, when Lin Feng spoke today, these people were like obedient babies. They stood up as they were told. After counting, there were 40 people who stood up. There were 4 more people. Lin Feng let Soul Dolua, who was at rank 85, sit down. Once he sat down, there were 5 people. There was 1 less person. Lin Feng didn't make it complicated. He directly asked the 5 people to report their martial souls. According to the strength of their martial souls, Lin Feng quickly determined the last Hallmaster of the Alliance. Next, after the staff finished recording the positions of the Hallmasters, it was time to determine the position of Elder. At the same time, Lin Feng's avatar, Thanos, had already brought Golden Hoop Dolua and the others to the entrance of the Shrek Academy. They would probably reach the plaza in a few minutes. On the other side of the academy, Bibi Dong also brought the elites of the Martial Soul Hall to the side of the Alliance headquarters. From here, they could vaguely see the situation in the plaza. Gue Mei rushed over from the plaza and bowed to Bibi Dong. "Your Majesty, a large number of Soul Masters have gathered in the plaza. Basically all the forces on the list are here. However, I only saw 3 titled Dolua. They are Tang Xiao from the Clear Sky Sect, Dusty Heart from the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, and Yu Yuenjin from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. As for Thanos, Tang Hao, Gu Rong, and the others, I didn't see them. Gue Mei didn't dare to come to the Shrek Academy before mainly because there weren't many Soul Masters here. In addition, there were strong people here. If he came, he would be easily discovered. But now, there were hundreds and thousands of Soul Masters. As long as he was careful, even if he was discovered, he wouldn't attract too much attention. Therefore, Gue Mei had been observing the situation in the plaza. Only 3 titled Dolua? Bibi Dong was stunned as he furrowed his brow. According to the information she received, there were 2 more titled Dolua hidden in the palace. Why didn't they join the Soul Master Alliance? Also, why wasn't there a titled Dolua from the Marvel family here? This was a little strange. Yes, there are only 3, Gue Mei confirmed. At the same time, he thought to himself, Tang Hao and Gu Rong probably didn't come because they needed to stay in the sect. But Thanos and the 2 from the palace didn't come. This is a little strange. Did they know in advance that the Martial Spirit Hall was going to launch a sneak attack? So they prepared an ambush? Bibi Dong was also a little hesitant. She wondered if she had been exposed. While thinking about this, Bibi Dong turned around and glanced at everyone. Her serious eyes made their hearts skip a beat. Elder Gue, go around and see if anyone is hiding, Bibi Dong said in a deep voice. In fact, before they set off, Bibi Dong had estimated all the high-end combat power of the Soul Master Alliance. Including Ning Fengji, there were about 10 titled Dolua. And the people she brought with her now were about the same strength as about 20 titled Dolu. It was more than enough to deal with these people. But at that time, Bibi Dong's idea was to only deal with the high-end powerhouses of the Soul Master Alliance. As for the other Soul Masters, they were not in the scope of their consideration. But now, there were more than 1,000 Soul Masters in the square. Although most of them were Soul Emperors and Soul Kings, there were also many Soul Sages and Soul Dolu. When these Soul Masters gathered together, the strength they could unleash was extremely terrifying. Even if some of them would stand on the side of the Martial Spirit Hall because of Gue Mei's persuasion yesterday, the other powerhouses were also extremely terrifying. When they attacked Ning Fengji, if Thanos and the others launched a sneak attack and delayed them, these people would surround them and they would be finished. Therefore, at this time, Bibi Dong had to make sure that there were no ambushes around and that it was safe. In this way, the people of the Martial Spirit Hall could attack Shao San, a titled Doluo, and kill him in an extremely short period of time. At that time, the Soul Master Alliance would be leaderless. Coupled with the chaos of the spies planted yesterday, these Soul Masters would be nothing to worry about. That was the plan. What Bibi Dong had to wait for now was the information that Gue Mei would bring back later. While thinking about this, Bibi Dong also looked at the square from afar. His eyes gradually turned cold. Gue Mei was very fast. After releasing his martial soul, he could travel in shadows. It would probably take him at most 10 minutes to patrol the entire forest. At the same time, the staff in the square had finished counting the positions of the 36 Hall Masters. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Congratulations on becoming the 36 Hall Masters of the Soul Master Alliance." Hearing this, everyone cheered. Next, it's time to take up the position of Elder of the Soul Master Alliance. At this point, Lin Feng became much more serious. As long as one's strength reaches the level of a titled Doluo, he will automatically take up the position. At present, there are only 3 elders present, namely Elder Kinduru Ashen, Elder Thunder Doluo Yuenjin, and Elder Shaotian Doluo Tang Shao. Everyone who's qualified can choose to nominate someone, and everyone who's an elder or above will have a vote for the selection of the alliance leader. You can vote for the person you support, and the person with the most votes will become the alliance leader of the Soul Master Alliance. Chapter 448. Lin Feng's rules were very clear and fair. There were more than 10 elders and 5 members of the committee. The person who obtained the most votes from these people would be recognized by all of them. This alliance leader would definitely be very strong. He would be more than enough to rule the Soul Master Alliance. Of course, this fairness was based on the premise that all of the elders were present, and their votes had to be cast by themselves. Otherwise, based on the current situation, if more than half of the elders weren't present, were they going to let someone else vote for them? If they were to vote for someone else, there would be no guarantee of fairness. Just as everyone was thinking, Lin Feng continued, "Next, the Alliance leader selection will begin. All elders and committee members can nominate themselves." Today's Alliance leader selection was actually just a formality. The candidate had already been decided. It was Tang San. However, this news wasn't leaked. Very few people knew about it. Only Lin Feng, Tang San, and Ning Fengji knew about it. Of course, the selection wasn't just a formality. On one hand, it was to set the rules. On the other hand, it was to let everyone feel the fairness of the Soul Master Alliance. After Lin Feng finished speaking, Ning Fengji shouted, "7 treasures glazed sex." Ning Fengji applies for the Alliance leader selection. Previously, Ning Fengji had already communicated with Lin Feng. Now that he had applied, it was just to give others an example. Soon, Tang Xiao also shouted, "Clear Sky Sex." Tang Xiao applies for the Alliance leader selection. Tang San from the Tang sect applies for the Alliance leader selection. Tang San also shouted. Then, Yu Yuanjin also shouted, "Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan's Yu Yuanjin applies for the Alliance leader selection." After Yu Yuanjin shouted, only Dusty Heart was qualified. According to what was said just now, Lin Feng wasn't qualified. Currently, there were 5 factions in the committee. Other than the Marvel family, the other 4 factions all had people applying. In everyone's opinion, the Alliance leader position was most likely going to be fought for by these 5 factions. As for Tang Xiao and Yu Yuanjin, they still had some ideas about the position of Alliance leader. Although they didn't know what it was for, it wouldn't be wrong to take it. Tang Xiao had some understanding of Tang San's Tang sect, so he felt that it was normal for Tang San to apply for the position of Alliance head. But in Yu Yuanjin's eyes, something was wrong. The Tang sect's reputation was too low. They had never heard of it before. It was only after the Wings of the Sky became popular that they learned about the Tang sect. In Yu Yuanjin's mind, the Tang sect shouldn't be put on the committee. After all, they didn't even have a titled battle pet warrior named Dolu. Of course, these were just Yu Yuanjin's thoughts at the moment. Tang San was so weak that it was impossible for him to be chosen as the leader. Under the premise that the other party was not in a competitive relationship with him, and no one else had any objections, he would not come out and sing a different tune. After Yu Yuanjin shouted to apply for the Alliance head selection, the square went quiet for a moment because no one else applied. For a moment, people were talking about who would become the Alliance head. As for Yu Yuanjin and Tang Xiao, their faces were filled with doubt. Where was Thanos from the Marvel family? Why wasn't Doluo, the powerful titled battle pet warrior, here? Why didn't he apply for the position of Alliance head? Not only the 2 of them, but also the others soon realized this. After all, the name of the Marvel family was too big, and the strength of Thanos Overlord was obvious to all. At this time, Thanos Overlord was not there, and no one from the Marvel family applied for the Alliance Master position, which was really surprising. Where is Thanos, His Holiness? The Alliance head selection is taking place. Why isn't he here yet? I joined the Alliance of Soul Masters because of the Marvel family. If His Holiness Thanos is not the Alliance head, I don't think it's fair. Yes, Mr. Destroy is so powerful that he isn't even afraid of the Martial Spirit Palace. I admire such a powerful man. I think Xiaotian Doluo from the Heavenly Sect is also very powerful. If he is the Alliance head, I think it's okay. Just when the discussion was at its peak, Lin Feng spoke. Very good. There are a total of 4 candidates for the Alliance head. The next thing to be done is to vote for the Alliance head. Hearing this, everyone was a little stunned. Just now, when they discussed that the Marvel family did not apply for the position of Alliance head, they were just talking. They were all thinking that the application was not over yet, and maybe Mr. Destroy would appear soon. But at this time, Lin Feng said that there were only 4 candidates for the Alliance head, which was equivalent to letting them know that the Marvel family would not participate in the application for the position of Alliance head. This news caused an uproar. They never thought that the Marvel family would not send anyone to participate in the election. Tang Xiao even asked Ning Fengji, Sect Master Ning, why is Patriarch Destruction of the Marvel family not here? This. Ning Fengji was slightly embarrassed because he didn't know either. Lin Feng told him that Thanos would appear in the square, but at this time, the Alliance head election was about to begin, and he was a little confused. At this time, Yu Yuanjun directly cupped his hands to Lin Feng and said, Deacon Lin Feng, I just heard you say that there are more than a dozen elders in the Soul Master Alliance, but now that the elders are not here, how will the voting be done later? Can you vote for them? If the Marvel family participated in the election for the Alliance head, Yu Yuanjun would feel that it was normal, and the Alliance head was most likely to be Thanos. But now that Thanos was not here, this was a good thing, because it was equivalent to one less strong competitor, and his chances of winning the position of Alliance head were a little higher. At the same time, he needed to figure out what was going on with the voting. Otherwise, those elders who did not come would vote for Lin Feng, and this election would become a joke. Elder Yu, don't worry, Lin Feng said with a smile. All the elections of the Soul Master Alliance are fair and open, and all the elders need to vote in person, no substitutes are allowed. If the person is absent, the votes in his hand will be automatically invalidated. I see. After hearing this, Yu Yuanjun breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, just now, he was a little worried that Lin Feng would vote for him. After all, he had never heard of the Golden Hoop Doloa and Flying Eagle Doloa that Lin Feng mentioned, and he suspected that they were fabricated. Now that Lin Feng said that they had to vote in person, things were much fairer. But on second thought, it was still a little unfair. Now that the four major forces in the square had applied for the Alliance head, only Dusty Heart had not applied, and he still had one vote in his hand. This vote was counted as an extra vote. After all, the others should have voted for him. In this way, didn't that mean that whoever Dusty Heart voted for would be able to become the Alliance head? With that thought, he hurriedly asked, Deacon Lin Feng, how many votes does a Soul Master who holds the position of Chairman and Elder have? Like him and Tang Xiao, the two of them were both Elders and Chairmen, holding two positions at the same time. If there was only one vote, it would be a little unfair. Hearing this, Lin Feng said with a smile, I forgot to say just now, the voting rights are divided according to the position. For a Soul Master like Elder Yu who holds two positions at the same time, of course, you have two votes. Hearing this, there was only one word in the hearts of everyone in the square. Fair. This was really too fair. Only those who were present could vote, and those who held two positions had two votes. It was so fair that it was a little unbelievable. After all, in this world where the strong were respected, the word fairness had always been an extravagant hope. So after hearing Lin Feng's words, everyone was very stunned. Are there any other questions? Lin Feng glanced around. After seeing that no one spoke, he smiled and said, Very well, since no one is speaking, then I announce that the voting begins. At this moment, Ning Fengji and Tang San actually wanted to speak. Thanos had not appeared yet, so they wanted to ask about the situation. However, seeing Lin Feng's normal face and not the slightest bit surprised, they finally chose to believe Lin Feng and did not ask any more questions. As for Tang Xiao and Yu Yuanjun, they were eager to start voting now because there were fewer variables, and their chances of becoming the Alliance head would be higher. Moreover, the two of them felt that the time they knew about the voting was too short. Otherwise, if they knew in advance, they could have discussed it with others. Just as they were thinking about this, Ning Fengji was the first to speak, as usual, to give everyone an example. He shouted loudly, Chairman of the Soul Master Alliance, Ning Fengji, this vote is for Ning Fengji. He voted for himself. If this kind of action was in his previous life, it would give people a strange feeling, or rather, they would feel embarrassed. However, in Dolua's world, everyone felt that it was very normal. Elder of the Soul Master Alliance, Dusty Heart, This vote is for Ning Fengji. Dusty Heart continued. Lin Feng said loudly, currently, Ning Fengji has 2 votes, and the others have 0 votes. Hearing this, Yu Yuanjun no longer hesitated and immediately said, Chairman and Elder of the Soul Master Alliance, Yu Yuanjun, 2 votes for Yu Yuanjun. Tang San also said, Chairman of the Soul Master Alliance, Tang San, this vote is for Tang San. Currently, Ning Fengji has 2 votes, Yu Yuanjun has 2 votes, Tang San has 1 vote, and Tang Xiao has 0 votes. Lin Feng continued to shout. Now, only Tang Xiao had 2 votes. He was hesitating in his heart. Should these 2 votes be for him or Tang San? As for the other 2, Tang Xiao didn't consider them. He only had himself and Tang San in his mind. After all, they both had clear sky hammers. If he voted for Tang San, he would have 3 votes, and he would be the alliance leader. However, he was the Tang sect leader now, and he wasn't strong enough. The main thing was that he hadn't joined the Clear Sky sect yet, and no one knew what he was thinking. If he became the alliance leader, what benefits could he bring to the Clear Sky sect? If Tang Xiao voted for him, he would have 2 votes. According to Lin Feng's previous choices, if there was a tie between the 3 of them, Tang San would be eliminated. Then, they would choose between him, Ning Fengji, and Yu Yuanjun. Whether it was based on strength or another vote, Tang Xiao had a chance to win. After all, Tang San's vote was very likely to be for him. As he thought about it, Tang Xiao didn't hesitate anymore. He shouted, Tang Xiao, Chairman cum Elder of the Soul Master Alliance, votes for Tang Xiao. Lin Feng shouted at the right time, Ning Fengji has 2 votes, Tang Xiao has 2 votes, Yu Yuanjun has 2 votes, and Tang San has 1 vote. After he said that, everyone started to talk about which of the 3 of them would be the alliance leader. As for Tang San, he only had 1 vote and he was weak. Everyone felt that it was normal for him to be eliminated. Third brother is going to be eliminated. Where's Mr. Destroy? Why isn't he here yet? If Mr. Destroy is here, third brother will definitely be the alliance leader. Xiao Wu sighed. Ma Hongjun also said, yes, Mr. Destroy isn't here. If he's here, third brother will definitely be the alliance leader. Ning Rongrong comforted them, the voting hasn't ended yet. What if Mr. Destroy suddenly comes back? Ning Rongrong didn't believe it herself. After all, there was no movement at all. The possibility of Thanos appearing was too low. While they were discussing, Lin Feng didn't announce anything. He just waited quietly. Tang San and Ning Fengji knew the inside story, so they were able to keep calm. Dusty Heart, Tang Xiao, and Yu Yuanjun were anxious. Why didn't Lin Feng say anything? Dusty Heart asked, Deacon Lin Feng, when will you announce the results? Yu Yuanjun also said, now that there's a tie, should we remove sect leader Tang and vote again? Or should we say that strength is everything? Yu Yuanjun only had one thought from the beginning, and that was that he wanted to be judged based on strength. If they voted again, Tang San's vote would be a variable. He would find a way to nullify it. As for strength, Ning Fengji was directly eliminated. Only he and Tang Xiao could compete for the position of Alliance Head. The Clear Sky Hammer and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon were both top-notch martial souls. Both of them were also very strong. Because the Clear Sky sect had been in seclusion for a long time, Yu Yuanjun and Tang Xiao had never fought. They didn't know who was stronger. Yu Yuanjun felt that it was worth it to fight Tang Xiao for the alliance leader's position. Elders, don't be anxious. The voting hasn't ended yet. Please wait for a while, Lin Feng said with a smile. Yu Yuanjun was confused. According to Lin Feng's criteria, everyone who had a vote had already voted. However, Lin Feng said that the voting hadn't ended yet. Could there be a variable? At this moment, Yu Yuanjun and Tang Xiao were confused. However, there were people in the plaza who were talking about conspiracy theories. Now that the votes have been cast, they're not announcing the result. They're obviously going to vote on behalf of others. I thought that the Soul Master Alliance was fair. Now it seems like they're just. That's right. I think there's something wrong with this deacon. He's not even announcing the result. It's too fake. Some people were like this. Even though the dust hadn't settled yet, they could always see the results. It was as if no one knew better than them. Of course, these people didn't talk loudly. They even used their soul power to cover their voices. They only dared to discuss in a small area. Right at this moment, a low shout suddenly came from afar, and it was suddenly heard. Chairman and Elder of the Soul Master Alliance, Thanos, votes for Tang San. Following this, someone else shouted. Elder of the Soul Master Alliance, Bai Shuiyang, votes for Tang San. Elder of the Soul Master Alliance, Hong Yifeng, votes for Tang San. Elder of the Soul Master Alliance. Hearing the votes being cast one after another, everyone was stunned, especially the King of Understanding. They all shut their mouths. Chapter 449. As a matter of fact, the elders of the Alliance were unfamiliar with Doluo, Bai Shuiyang, Golden Hoop, and Hong Yifeng. Many people even thought that they didn't exist. After all, they had never heard of Doluo before. It was strange that so many of them had shown up all of a sudden. However, at that moment, as the shouts were heard, people saw that Thanos in white had arrived at the plaza with 13 other powerful warriors. These elders were all real. Everyone's jaws dropped as their faces were filled with shock. Well, there are so many elders. Yu Yuanjin was surprised as well. Tang Xiao had a serious look on his face as he stared at the golden rings Dolu. He could tell that the elder was powerful. He didn't know what his soul power rank was, but he was sure that the elder was not weak, and he was able to stand behind Thanos Overlord, which also showed that his strength was very strong. Welcome, elders. Please take your seats, Lin Feng said with a smile. There were 20 seats on the elders' table, which was more than enough for all of them. Just like that, under the leadership of Thanos Overlord, Golden Hoop and the others glanced around and then sat in the elders' seats. Up to this point, the discussion in the square never stopped. After all, this was simply too shocking. So many titled Doluo that he had never heard of before had suddenly appeared. Even Ning Fengji was astonished. Elder Dugubo of the Alliance of Soul Masters, I vote for Tang San. At this moment, a green figure suddenly appeared in the middle of the square, and at the same time, he shouted. Lin Feng cupped his fists with a smile. Elder Du, congratulations on reaching the 96th rank. Congratulations. That's right, the last elder was Dugubo. The reason why there had been no news of him was simple. He had been in seclusion to make a breakthrough. Lin Feng had thought that Dugubo wouldn't succeed before the alliance was established. However, Lin Feng had underestimated him. Dugubo had made the breakthrough and had even made it there. At this time, after hearing Lin Feng's words, Dugubo smiled and inadvertently revealed a trace of his aura. He cupped his hands and said, Deacon Lin Feng, you're too kind. It's all thanks to Mr. Destroy's teachings. With that, he cupped his hands in the direction of Thanos. At the same time, his green robe fluttered in the wind, making him look very handsome. Everyone in the square was shocked by this scene. Due to the lag in information, many people's impression of Dugubo's strength was still at level 91. But now, it had only been a few years. How did he suddenly reach level 96? This was simply too terrifying. Even those who were well-informed only knew that Dugubo's strength had increased 3 years ago, but they didn't know by how much. And now, according to Dugubo, it was Thanos who taught him well? What kind of teaching method was this? For a moment, everyone was filled with curiosity. Elder Du, please take a seat. Lin Feng smiled again. Hearing this, Dugubo glanced at everyone, especially at the Golden Hoop and Dolu. Then, he sat down next to Dusty Heart. At this time, Lin Feng shouted, All the elders and chairmen of the alliance have voted. Among the 4 candidates, Tang San has 11 votes, Tang Xiao has 2 votes, Ning Fengji has 2 votes, and Yu Yuanjin has 2 votes. Tang San is in first place, and there are no objections. Therefore, I hereby announce that the first Alliance Master of the Soul Master Alliance will be Tang San, the sect leader of the Tang sect, for 5 years. After 5 years, the second election will be held. Now, let us use our warmest cheers to welcome the new Alliance Master. As Lin Feng finished speaking, Tang San did not hesitate at all. Following Lin Feng's instructions, he went directly to the seat representing the Alliance Master and sat down. At this moment, Tang San was very nervous. After all, this was the first time he had experienced this kind of situation. But he had done many exercises before, and with his own strength, he suppressed the nervousness in his heart and appeared to be relatively calm. On the square, there were already cheers to celebrate the birth of the new Alliance Master. As for the elders' seating area, everyone had smiles on their faces, expressing their celebration. Titled battle pet warriors like Doluo were not fools. Dusty Heart, Tang Xiao, and Yu Yuanjin were all smart people. Although they were not optimistic about Tang San's strength, it was obvious that he would become the Alliance Master under the current circumstances. Or perhaps, the Marvel family had pushed him to the position. Under such circumstances, they knew that objecting would be useless, so staying silent was the best choice. While everyone on the square was cheering, in the forest not far away, Bibi Dong's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. Originally, after Ghost's search, she had confirmed that there were no ambushes around. Then, Bibi Dong was ready to take action. But just a minute ago, she sensed the auras of Thanos and the Golden Hoop. They were extremely powerful. She was directly deterred and quickly sent Ghost to investigate. Then, Bibi Dong saw the scene on the square. 8 titled Dolua that she had never seen before had become the elders of the Soul Master Alliance. So many powerful people, how could it be possible? Could it be that they were all from the Marvel family? No. It was impossible. If the Marvel family had such strength, they would have attacked the Martial Spirit Palace. Therefore, Bibi Dong guessed that there was a high probability that these people were also from hidden families or powerful people. They were brought out by the Marvel family. In any case, there were now 8 additional titled Dolua in the plaza. Furthermore, they were all extremely powerful. Although they were all wearing masks and other disguises, Lin Feng was too familiar with Bibi Dong's power, Gui Mei and Yu Guan, so he quickly recognized them. Then, Lin Feng used his other clones to transform into animals and get closer to them. As they got closer, Lin Feng's heart trembled. So strong. Basically, they were all powerful titled soul masters like Doluo, and the weakest was at least rank 89. They were the main force of the Martial Spirit Hall. Was Thousand Dao Flow here? After sensing for a while, Lin Feng realized that they shouldn't be here. But Bibi Dong came in person, and besides Gui Mei and Yu Guan, there seemed to be 2 other rank 96 Soul Masters. This was a group of extremely powerful Soul Masters. If Lin Feng hadn't discovered them just now and was then ambushed, he might have been fine. But if the others were ambushed, it would have been difficult for him to save all of them. If Xiao Wu, Tang San, and the others were killed, Lin Feng would probably be very upset. After all, they were all people he was familiar with, and he didn't want this to happen. And if the ones who died weren't Tang San and the others, the situation would be better, but it would also be very bad. After all, many people died on the day the Soul Master Alliance was established, and this would be a serious blow to the Alliance. It was precisely because of the serious consequences that Lin Feng was a little scared at this time. Fortunately, he discovered it in advance. After rejoicing, Lin Feng's heart was filled with anger. What a good martial spirit hall. I didn't even bring people to find trouble with you, but you actually came in advance. Since you're here now, then stay. Anyway, the first goal of the Soul Master Alliance was to unify the world of Soul Masters, and they would fight against the Martial Spirit Hall sooner or later. Today was a good opportunity for Bibi Dong to wipe out the Soul Master Alliance, and at the same time, for Lin Feng, it was also a good opportunity for them to take down the Martial Spirit Hall. If all of these people were killed, Lin Feng's experience would not only increase greatly, but there would also be no hindrance in taking down the Martial Spirit Hall in the future. It just so happened that the Soul Master Alliance was established, and it was also a good choice to use this battle to consolidate. Thinking of this, in the square, Thanos suddenly looked in the direction of Bibi Dong and shouted, "How dare you spy on my Soul Master Alliance? Where do you think you're going?" As he spoke, Thanos's aura was released, and the Thousand Trickery Ruler instantly turned into a big stick in his hand. At the same time, soul rings appeared on his body. Of course, this was not Thanos's true strength. He was just pretending. With the same combination of soul rings as the 1,000 streams, this was his current identity. At the same time, this was also the first time Thanos showed all of his soul rings in front of outsiders. The moment the soul rings appeared, everyone in the square sucked in a breath of cold air. How terrifying! 9 soul rings, 8 black and 1 red. How was this possible? How could someone's first and second soul rings be at the 10,000-year level? Even Tang San, Ning Rongrong, and the others were shocked. They did not expect Thanos's soul rings to be like this. After all, when they were in the Star Do Great Forest, they saw Thanos show 5 soul rings, all of which were at the 10,000-year level. At that time, they thought that those were Thanos's last 5 soul rings, but they did not expect them to be the first few. But at the same time, they were as confused as everyone else. How could Mr. Destroy's first few soul rings be at the 10,000-year level? One had to know that Feng Ji's soul rings were already shocking, but now Thanos was even more powerful than him. Of course, there were some people in the crowd who knew more about it. For example, Ning Fengji, Tang Xiao, Yu Yuanjin, and the others. After the shock, they also thought of one thing, and that was the inheritance of a god. They knew that it was impossible to obtain a 10,000-year soul ring for the first soul ring. It could only be an acquired soul ring. And the only thing that could do this was divine power. Thanos must have obtained the inheritance of a god, so the age of his soul rings increased. Now that Thanos had 9 soul rings, 8 black and 1 red, his soul power fluctuations were also very strong. His strength was probably stronger than everyone present. Just now, he shouted that there was a thief spying on them. Was he trying to show everyone his strength? When he was thinking about this, Thanos' overlord suddenly jumped and directly jumped to a height of 100 meters. In the next second, a black soul ring shone on his body, and a pair of huge thunder wings about 30 meters in size condensed on his back. With a light flap, he flew hundreds of meters in an instant. Just when everyone was admiring, Lin Feng quickly sent a voice transmission to Tang San and told him the general situation. Soon, Tang San stood up and shouted, "All members of the Soul Master Alliance, listen to my order. 36 Hall Masters and all Elders, follow me. Today is the first battle of the Soul Master Alliance. I hope everyone can exert all their strength." Lin Feng did not let Tang San directly say that it was the people of the Martial Spirit Hall, nor did he say that Bibi Dong was there. After all, the influence of the Martial Spirit Hall was too great now, especially Pope Bibi Dong. With such an identity here, it was enough to make most people afraid. And now, Bibi Dong and the others were all wearing masks, so Lin Feng did not expose them. It was just right to let the members of the Soul Master Alliance have a good fight. Chapter 450. A war is about to break out? So soon? What's going on? Didn't Elder Thanos say just now? There are thieves who want to deal with us. Is the Alliance Master bringing us to eliminate the thieves? But it's just a small thief. Aren't we making a mountain out of a molehill by mobilizing so many people? After Tang San's voice fell, everyone broke out into a flurry of discussion. Even the titled elders like Doluo were stunned. They didn't expect this at all. After all, it was just a thief spying on them. Wasn't it making a mountain out of a molehill by mobilizing everyone? However, Thanos's power just now, coupled with Kenduluo, Golden Hoop, and Dolua's response, they followed Tang San and ran towards Thanos. Their soul rings were revealed and their auras soared. Under such circumstances, the soul masters who were called out didn't have time to think and quickly followed. At the same time, in the sky above the forest about 300 meters away, Thanos stood in the sky, holding a long rod in his hand. The thunder wings on his back flapped gently. His eyes were fixed on Bibi Dong, exuding a majestic aura. Bold thieves, secretly spying on the Alliance of Soul Masters Conference. Since you're here, don't leave. A loud shout made Bibi Dong and the rest of the people stare blankly. They were exposed? How could it be? Bibi Dong was sure that they didn't use their soul power all the way here. Under such circumstances, they wouldn't be discovered. But now, Thanos directly stopped them, which really surprised her. At the same time, everyone also saw the 9 soul rings on Thanos's body. 8 black and 1 red, which made everyone's eyes widen. How is this soul ring combination possible? Someone cried out. Bibi Dong's heart sank. She knew what this soul ring represented because she had experienced it before. It was the inheritance of a god. Thanos must have obtained a god's inheritance and completed several divine tests. Under the effect of his divine power, his soul rings had been upgraded. However, Bibi Dong knew that now wasn't the time for her to be shocked. At this moment, Thanos was releasing his aura without taking any action. He only had one purpose, and that was to stall for time. After all, Dolua's team was strong. Not even a real god would be able to wound that many titled battle pet warriors. Therefore, Thanos did not dare to fight them head-on. He only dared to stall for time. On the other side of the square, Bibi Dong sensed a group of guys rushing over. She knew that if they didn't leave now, it would be difficult for them to leave. With that thought in mind, Bibi Dong shouted, "Everyone, gather together and break out of the encirclement." Bibi Dong was a smart person. She knew that now that they were gathered together, they were a powerful force. Even if they were surrounded, it was not a dead end. After all, if they worked together, even if they were besieged, their enemies would have to sacrifice more than half of the titled battle pet warriors, including Dolua. Moreover, they were in Heaven-Do City. They were masked and could use civilians as a threat. Under such circumstances, Thanos would not choose to attack for the sake of the Soul Master Alliance. As long as he was not a fool, he would let them go. If they chose to scatter and escape, it would be terrible. The Soul Master Alliance had many people. They might be strong enough to escape, but many of them would be killed in the end. Therefore, in an instant, Bibi Dong made the best decision. She stood at the front and led everyone to break out of the encirclement towards the east. "Where do you think you're going?" Thanos's long rod suddenly enlarged and swept towards them from 200 meters away. Indeed, as Bibi Dong thought, Lin Feng was strong now, but he was still no match for the combined attack of the Martial Soul Hall's high-end combat power. However, he didn't need to fight head-on. He could just harass them from afar. He just needed to stall until Tang San came over with everyone. Humph! Facing Thanos's big rod, Bibi Dong snorted coldly. Following that, her soul power fluctuated rapidly and her soul rings appeared. Purple, 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 black, 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 red. 3 years ago, Bibi Dong's soul rings were still 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red. However, after 3 years of baptism, she had passed a few divine tests, and the age of her soul rings had increased. Now, as her soul power burst forth, the projection of the Spider Emperor appeared behind her. Soon, the Spider Emperor spat out a black ball of light from its mouth, and it directly collided with Thanos's long rod. Boom! With a loud sound, an enormous soul power fluctuation spread out in all directions with this as the center. The trees nearby were torn to pieces by this huge force, and the trees further away were all tilted. As for the trees further away, they swayed as if they were blown by a strong wind. This collision did not affect Yu Guan, Gui Mei, and the rest much, because Bibi Dong had told them to break out of the encirclement with their lives. When the two of them collided, this group of people had already run to the front. Therefore, they did not see it, and only felt the soul power fluctuations. The words of Tang San and the rest, however, had clearly captured this scene with their own eyes. The collision between the 200-meter-long rod and Bibi Dong's huge spider projection shocked everyone. Was this really the power of a titled Dolua? He was too strong. 3 years ago, in the Martial Spirit Hall, Tang Hao summoned a huge clear sky hammer. At that time, the 100-meter-long hammer was already shocking enough. But now, he directly summoned a 200-meter-long rod, and it did not seem to be Thanos's limit. This kind of strength was really shocking. Of course, although they were shocked, they did not stop moving. Instead, they rushed over there even faster. As for Tang San, he activated the soul skill on his blue-silver emperor leg bone. He was extremely fast, and did not fall behind anyone. At this moment, he shouted, "Mr. Destroy is delaying the enemy. Let's catch up quickly and stop them all. Let's make the Soul Master Alliance famous." In front of them, Bibi Dong looked serious. After repelling Thanos's attack, she led everyone out of the forest. Previously, Bibi Dong wanted to use the civilians to threaten the Soul Master Alliance and then let them escape. But at that time, she only thought about it. She did not really plan to do it. However, after the collision with Thanos, she felt that she had to do it, because Thanos was too strong. After the rod hit, Bibi Dong was slightly injured, even though she was defending with all her might. Right now, she looked normal, but she had suppressed her injuries. She realized that Thanos was stronger than she thought. If she did not use some dirty tricks, they might all die in Heaven Do City today. As for Thanos' Overlord's side, after seeing Bibi Dong break away and continue to escape, he didn't say much but continued to follow. He did not use all his strength in the previous strike. There was a reason for this. If he had used all his strength, Bibi Dong would not have stopped him alone. She would have let everyone attack him together. And in that case, he might have been injured. Although he could recover with his life force, there were so many titled Dolu. There were bound to be some with special soul power. For example, Bibi Dong's Spider Emperor Martial Soul was highly toxic. If Thanos was attacked, it would take him several minutes to recover even if he used his life force to recover. And in that long time, Bibi Dong and the others would have run away. Therefore, in order to deal with this group of people, Lin Feng could not be injured. He only dared to harass them from afar. "Don't run!" Thanos soon caught up with them and hit them with his rod again. Bibi Dong did not waste any time. With a serious face, she came out to block again. However, on the way, Thanos fainted. The rod suddenly shortened. After passing through her black light, it lengthened again and stabbed towards the group of people. Thanos's idea at this time was very simple. That was to keep this group of people. Whether or not he could keep all of them was another matter. Anyway, the more people that stayed, the better. On the way, killing a few could show the strength of the Soul Master Alliance and deter some people with evil intentions. As for the rest, he would imprison them and treat them as experienced babies. At the same time, they were also very important hostages. After all, if Lin Feng wanted to take down the Martial Spirit Palace, he could only attack by force. That would be more passive. But if there were hostages now, it would be a different story. They would turn from passive to active. It was only a matter of time before they took down the Martial Spirit Palace. Because of this, Lin Feng was very careful at this time. Thanos' strike was short and long. Bibi Dong did not expect this at all. Yu Guan, Gue Mei, and the others were instantly scattered by this strike. However, they were all top powerhouses on the Dolua continent. They were all very strong. Under this attack, no one was injured. Damn it! Bibi Dong frowned and hurriedly said, "Gather quickly and continue to break out." She realized that Tang San and the others were already close. Thanos' two obstructions, especially the second one, had a huge impact on them. Otherwise, according to her thinking, they could easily escape to the city center. Now it was difficult. But soon, Bibi Dong seemed to have made a decision. He immediately transmitted to Yu Guan and Gue Mei, Elder Gue, Elder Ju, use the martial soul fusion skill. The latter did not hesitate and immediately came to Bibi Dong's side and used the martial soul fusion skill behind him. Bibi Dong did not take the opportunity to leave. Instead, his eighth soul ring shone behind him. In the next second, another Bibi Dong who looked exactly like him appeared. The same perfect figure, the same mask, and even had the same strength and soul skills as Bibi Dong. That's right, this was Bibi Dong's eighth soul skill, Spider Emperor Clone. This soul skill was very strong. It was equivalent to Lin Feng's weakened avatar. It only had the first 7 soul skills, and there was a time limit. It couldn't be too far away. Even though there were many restrictions, its strength was still very strong. At this moment, her clone was left behind. With Yu Guan and Gue Mei's martial soul fusion skill, it was enough to stop everyone's advance. This was indeed the case. After Bibi Dong's clone appeared, he went straight to Slayer Overlord, desperately stopping him. The martial soul fusion skill of Gue Mei and Yu Guan seemed to have turned into a barrier, stopping everyone in place. It was enough to stop everyone for a few seconds. Taking advantage of this time, Bibi Dong led everyone from the martial soul hall and rushed into the city. "Where do you think you're going?" Slayer Overlord shouted, and the long stick in his hand shone brightly, and the stick smashed Bibi Dong's avatar. If it was Bibi Dong's main body, perhaps Thanos Tyrant would need some time to kill it, but this was just Bibi Dong's avatar, and it couldn't use the 9th and 8th soul skills. It was really weak. "Follow me quickly." After turning around and speaking to everyone, Thanos didn't hold back anymore. He teleported in front of Bibi Dong and the rest. On the other hand, Tang San and the rest were hiding some of their strength. After all, they were moving as a group. Everyone thought that others would do the work first, who would reveal their full strength. But at this moment Thanos spoke. When he turned around, he looked at everyone with a weird gaze. It seemed like he was blaming them. Under such circumstances, no one dared to be negligent. Ning Fengji summoned the 7 treasures glazed pagoda and used his soul skill to strengthen Dusty Heart. "Uncle Jian, go all out. Show everyone how powerful our 7 treasures glazed sect is." Just now, Dusty Heart had been rushing with Ning Fengji. Now, Ning Fengji stood on the ground and strengthened Dusty Heart. The latter didn't say anything. His aura suddenly increased. He broke through the obstacles on his sword and flew towards Thanos. At the side, Tang Xiao didn't hold back anymore. The clear sky hammer appeared in his hand. He smashed a hole with it and followed. Yu Yuanjin was next. He was possessed by the blue lightning tyrant dragon. He tore through the obstacles with his claws and followed. Then, it was Dolua and the rest. They shook together and destroyed Gue Mei and Yu Guan's martial soul fusion skill. After that, their soul power surged. Although they moved late, they arrived behind Bibi Dong and the rest with Dusty Heart almost at the same time. When Thanos appeared, he didn't overestimate himself and block the group. He only came to the end and used spatial imprisonment to imprison 5 of them. The other 3 were also affected by his Blood Fiend soul skill and didn't dare to move. These 2 soul skills were from the Qianquan Blood Shadow Beast skull. They were very powerful and controlled 8 people in an instant. Furthermore, Thanos chose the weaker 8 people. He chose them specifically to ensure the success rate of controlling them. Under such circumstances, Bibi Dong and the rest couldn't run. Otherwise, she would be heartbroken to give up 8 people at once. Therefore, Bibi Dong immediately brought people to surround the 8 people. While saving them, she also guarded against Thanos. She knew that it would be difficult to leave safely today. They had to pay a price. Of course, Bibi Dong would talk first. It would be best if they didn't have to pay a price. If there was no other way, she could only use her god's power. Perhaps it would greatly increase the difficulty of her god's test after using it, but this was also Bibi Dong's last resort. If she didn't use it this time, she might not even be able to survive. While thinking about this, Yu Guan and the rest had already rescued their teammate. At the same time, Dusty Heart and the rest also surrounded them and stared at them quietly. The two sides in this forest fell into a strange stalemate. Neither side spoke first. Instead, they sized each other up and thought of countermeasures. Not far away, Tang San, Ning Fengji, and the 36 Hall Masters were rushing over. The sound of their footsteps was like a countdown, stepping on the hearts of the people on both sides, one after another. The atmosphere in the hall became tense because of this. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.